What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Monday. Hope you all had an absolutely fantastic weekend and you're ready to hit up a brand new work week here. Big thanks for making us a part of your start. If you're up and at it this morning, whether you're listening on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM, online where you can website, you got video streams also up and rolling, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitch. Just tell your Alexa devices to say, "Yo, Alexa, play WAYY." Multiple ways for you to be joining us here this morning. What do we have on our busy game plan? Recapping the last couple days from this past weekend and such. Starting off with baseball, Brewers clinch. They get her done. They clinched before their before the end of their game on Saturday, and ended up with that epic comeback Saturday night against the Cardinals, winning the series against the Cardinals. But nonetheless, Brewers back in the postseason. First team to clinch. Brewers and Phillies are the first two to clinch playoff spots. So, but we got 12 more games to go here. And things are still pretty tight right now, especially when you look at it from a National League standpoint, standings wise standpoint, because the Brewers holding on to a uh, 2-game lead over the Phillies for the top spot in the National League. Still 5.5 right now for 5.5 right now for the division. So just looking at the latest magic number updates here for the Brewers. 10 to get that top spot. That's the magic number 10 to get that top spot. Looking at they have at least got the fifth wild card spot, but if they want to get at least the 4 and kind of move up, it goes up. I mean, 4 is the magic number, then you got 8, and then not or that 8 for the third and second spots, and then 10 for that top spot in the National League standings. So Phillies not going away. Not going away right now. But 91 and 59 so far here for the Crew. Off day today for the Brewers before they begin a series with the Angels. So, but maybe they'll get a little bit of help. Maybe they'll get a little bit of help because Phillies and Dodgers going at it starting tonight. Phillies got to go out to the West Coast to take on the Dodgers. So, but plenty of Brewers talk coming at you here this morning. Got obviously with them clinching the final 12, the final dozen games. You got Jose Quintana injured. How does that affect what potentially could be a playoff rotation? Not much effect at all. We're going to take a look at that and Brewers. I mean, with them going back to the postseason here, it's 7 of their last 8 years. Okay, 7 of their last 8 years, the Brewers have been in the postseason. The sustained amount of success that this team has had, this franchise has had over the last few years, I would say is pretty impressive. Considering when you look at it this way. They've made the playoffs 7 of the last 8 years, but before that stretch, they made it 4 times in their entire history, going all the way back to when they were even a Seattle Pilot, the Seattle Pilots back in 1969. Think about that. 7 of the last 8 years, they've been in the postseason. And before that stretch, a total of just 4 times. 4 times. You know, you hear the debate or the conversation, however you want to phrase it, but you know, you'll hear a lot of people say Packers fans spoiled, Packers fans, you know, entitled town sort of thing. And I was reading a little bit from MLB.com and their latest power rankings, and the Brewers are still 1. But the one line in their write-up says that This team obviously has higher aspirations than just making the postseason, but it should be said that it's something this fan base is never going to take fully for granted. Have we, as a Brewers fan base, been taking, let's say, these last 8 years for granted a little bit, just the overall success? Because I think, baseball wise, it is such a long I mean, you're 162 games for crying out loud. A buck 62. And I think the Brewers, because there's always going to be that question, well, how do you celebrate? Because you have teams, they'll after clinching a postseason spot, they may do a little champagne showers, spraying it all over the place in the locker rooms. I think the Brewers did it the right way on Saturday. If you did get a chance to maybe watch the videos online on their website and such, go do it because one got a great one from Pat Murphy where he had a letter from Euchre, and he read off a letter from Euchre, which is it could maybe get you choked up a little bit, but then Yelich chatting with his team, and I think Yelich made a good point too. It's a long season, so I mean, you get through a 162 game season. Yeah, you deserve to maybe celebrate it a little bit if you get to the postseason. Brewers just looked like they had some glasses of champagne. That was it. Nothing too ridiculous. No spray or anything like that because they got bigger aspirations. They've got bigger goals still in front of them. They want to win the division. They want to probably be the top spot and hold home field advantage throughout the postseason, right? So they've got those still in front of them. They still control their destination. It's still going to be tight here, and right now it may go through that final series with the Reds there. So, but plenty of baseball. I want to talk more about all this in depth here and such. I want to talk some more baseball, but I wanted to throw that question out to you. Have you, and maybe too, like I'll say it for people younger than myself, or maybe in my generation and such. Have we been taking the Brewers playoff, getting to the postseason success a little for granted? Yes, I would raise my hand. We're at the point now. I think we want more. We want a little bit more. It's not just about getting to the postseason anymore. We want a little bit more. And I think that's perfectly fine. I mean, we've used this example how many times? I remember in college in '08. That was the first time I've experienced the Brewers go to the postseason. We were just happy for crying out loud to get there. Just happy to be here. But I would say that's changed. That's changed now because of the sustained success of getting to the postseason. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You want higher goals and you want higher aspirations. You don't want to just always be happy to be here. Want a championship, especially for a team that has yet to get one, right? So we'll talk some more Brewers, plenty of Brewers coming at you this morning. Week 2 of the NFL season isn't officially in the books yet. So we got some games coming at you tonight. Don't forget doubleheader here. But the NFC North week 2 is officially in the books. So I kind of want to do a little NFC North state of the NFC North. Obviously we saw what Green Bay did last Thursday against the Commanders, but yesterday and last night, Detroit putting uppers to keep them winless on the season, and the Bears in an 0-2 hole in the division, losing both their divisional games. So Detroit maybe looking a little bit more like Detroit in that game yesterday. But the Vikings last night falling to the Falcons at home in Minnesota. Not really first of all, the offense for the first half of the game pretty but picked up a little bit there in the second half, at least for Atlanta. But just 6 points, 6 points total for the Vikings in this game, and all coming in the second quarter. So let's do a little state of the NFC North. And I'm genuinely curious. I want to hear from every fan base because I know we have listeners that rep every team. Obviously, a lot of Packers fans, but I know we got quite a few Lions fans. We've got some Bears fans. And of course, we've got some Vikings fans. I'm curious to get your assessments, your state of the division after the first 2 weeks of this season. When you look at this division from what we have seen so far, is it the Packers to lose? Is it don't dismiss the Lions, obviously, just after a week 1 loss to Green Bay. Look what they did to Chicago. If you're a Bears fan, are you frustrated with what you're seeing? If you're a Vikings fan, how are you after, maybe the first half of the Bears game and then last night's game? How you feeling about your franchise and such? I want to know. All right. I genuinely want to know, specifically, if you are a fan of either the Bears, Lions, Vikings. So let's do a little NFC North, state of NFC North. Okay. So hit me up, 715-830-1912 with a quick text on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line. You can also comment on the various video streams out there too, if that helps you out, or if that's what you prefer. So college football, Badgers falling to Alabama, which again, I don't think that's a huge surprise. And Alabama covered in that. So yeah, just kind of what do you do? To me, it's like I just kind of shrug my shoulders at that. It's like, what do you do? What honestly, what do you do at that point? But to me, Badgers just kind of played at the level I thought they were going to play at, to be honest with you. So, but we'll throw a little Badger football chat into this as now we get set for, at least for Wisconsin here. Going to be going up against Maryland this weekend and beginning Big Ten conference play. So, got that game against Maryland. Then they've got the bye. And then I think a stretch of games to begin October that could determine how this season goes for Wisconsin in terms of like maybe making a bowl game or such. Because after this game against Maryland and after their bye week, you got that October 4th game against Michigan. Iowa comes to Camp Randall. Ohio State comes to Camp Randall. You go visit Oregon. Those are your October games. I mean, if I think somehow Wisconsin goes 2-2 in that stretch, okay, then I think maybe we could be talking about a potential bowl game. We talk about expectations and goals. Man, Brewers, we want a little bit more. I think for Wisconsin football, it's fallen down to just, hey, get to a bowl game at this point. But so we'll throw in a little bit of that. We've got some local sports roundup with Justice Cleveland. We'll hit up in the 9 o'clock hour and the happy hour. So, speaking of college football, Blue Gold starting off 2-0, picking up a victory against Kenyon College at Ohio this past weekend. Stout falling 16-0 against 10th ranked Wartburg. But good start for the Blue Gold football team to begin their season. So we'll do more local sports roundup with high school football and such, and all the other sports, local sports with Mr. J.C. Nisi, Justice Cleveland Sports Director Extraordinaire. It is Monday, which also means it's I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Fill in the blanks. I'll read them on the air. I'm not saying blank, but I'm just saying blank. What you got for me? Okay. So there's your game plan for us this morning. You know the drill. All right. Let's pitter patter. Let's get at her. Let's get the lead off going here this morning. I want to talk a little Brewers. Have we been taking these last 8 years for granted, or if you like, no, happy to be there. Just want a little more. Where are you at? What side of the aisle are you on for that, for the Brewers? So let's take our first break, and then we'll get things going here on the leadoff. We're going to open it up, talking some Brewers. Brewers clinching a playoff spot, 91 wins, 12 to go. Still got something to be chasing right now. So let's talk some baseball coming up next. Looking to save some money with your grocery bills and also maybe save some money at the gas pump? Hey, you can do it both ways at Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. Do some grocery shopping, save with the best deals and prices in the area, and then you double up with the fuel perks. You can save some cash or save some coin at the gas pump too with our good friends from Hy-Vee. We're approaching it's the fall season getting in there. We got the kiddos in school, maybe even still doing in sports. And, you got to pack those school lunches or maybe some quick meals at home if you got a game to go to at night. Hey, Hy-Vee can help you out with that, whether it's those quick meal options or whether it's supplies to make some quick meals at home or those school lunches. Go visit our good friends at Hy-Vee in Eau Claire for all of your shopping needs. And maybe with a little tailgate season here, too, you could go grab some Man Cave Light, a 6-pack of Man Cave Light out of the wine and spirits department. Grab some Dan Good Burgers from the meat department back there. They got you covered for everything at our good friends Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. Want to lead things off this morning talking some Brewers. So before we get to recapping the weekend series and such, the big thing from the weekend, Brewers clinched. They clinched their postseason spot. Still has yet to be determined what spot they're going to have in the National League. They still got a couple things in front of them. They still have to clinch their division. Still want to clinch the top spot in the National League. Brewers are currently up as of this Monday morning, 5.5 over the Cubs for the division. But again, it's kind of like a 4.5 game lead because the Cubs hold the tiebreaker. On the flip side, the Brewers are up just 2 games over the Phillies for the top spot in the National League, but Brewers hold the tiebreakers against the Phillies. So it's essentially like a 3-game lead at this point. But I saw this one line on MLB.com when they were doing their power rankings for the Brewers and, talked about a fan base not taking this for granted. And I feel like, this pops up every so often. Have we been taking the Brewers' success in the last 8 years for granted a little bit? 7 out of their past 8 seasons, this Brewers team has been to the postseason. And before that stretch, you can count the many times. How many times we went to the postseason on just one hand? 4. So when you look at this, have we been taking it for granted a little bit? I can't speak for everybody on this. I can only speak for myself. And I don't think I have been taking it for granted. I don't. I don't feel like I have. I think part of for a couple reasons here. One, I think it's how many times have we come into a Brewer season, specifically like this one and even last year? If you look at just a couple of recent examples, where there was kind of like an unknown, like, okay, how good is this team going to be? Maybe a little skepticism surrounding whether they were actually going to make the postseason or not. And I think that in itself kind of keeps a fan base a little humble because you're not quite sure what to expect with the team. And maybe you have some like, I don't know if they're going to make it or not. I think they can win the division, but I don't know. There's a little apprehension. At least there is for me. And they always kind of seem to surprise and outperform those expectations you had on the ball club. I know it has been for me. So I think that kind of keeps it humble in that aspect where there's been times like, okay, can they are they good enough to get to the postseason? And then boom, they exceed your expectations and you're like, oh man, they got back in. It's like, you know what I mean? It kind of keeps you humble a little bit because you're not quite always sure year in, year out how this Brewers team is going to do. Baseball, it is a long season. It is a long, grueling season. It's 162 flipping games. Sometimes, now it doesn't, but some playoff seasons it's 163. So the fact that it is a long, grueling season going back to the end of March, and we're going to be going through to the end of September here to the postseason, and there's not. You look at 7 teams in each league get in. You factor that into it too. I don't think. Again, this is just me. It's my personal feeling. I don't feel like I take them for granted. Now, I also I'm of the side of I'm not just happy to be there anymore. I'm not back in 2008 in my college days, excited that, we're into the postseason and, oh, oops, we don't perform that well. Thanks to Dave Bush for pitching one, good game that helped us win one postseason game in that series against the Phillies. But it wasn't just that. It wasn't just, these other seasons where we're just happy to be there. The expectations and goals have changed now. It's like, okay, you have proven to be a ball club, a franchise that can get to the postseason now. It's no longer like proving to the masses, proving to the fan bases or the skeptics that, hey, we can get to the postseason. We're about getting to the postseason. It's no longer about that. It's no longer just trying to go out there and show that you're in it to get to the postseason. I think now it's like, okay, the Brewers have been there. The Brewers have been there enough. They've won some division championships. They've won, a playoff series, although albeit lately it's been a hot minute. Got to go back to 18. They've done that. I think now it's like you climb that ladder, right? You climb the ladder of what's next. We want a little bit more. And I think that's where we're at with this Brewers team. And again, like this season is so unique because we're sitting here with 12 games left to go. And the Milwaukee Brewers have the best record in all of Major League Baseball. Yet, there's still some apprehension to it. They're still like, yeah, but are they real? I mean, whether it's from some fans, obviously it's from a lot of outside fan bases or outside skeptics from national pundits and such. I mean, we know it. So it's like it's an interesting year because even at the beginning of the year, what were the expectations? Maybe some still had them going to the postseason, winning division, and we could do all the fan graphs and baseball perspective, predictions and such. And the Brewers, I think, have just blown out everybody's thoughts and predictions. So it's a little bit different in that aspect, but it's kind of like what Yelich said in his speech to his teammates after Saturday night's game. It's like, we want more. Never, never take it for granted because Eddie's right. There are players who, have played baseball in these long seasons that never reach a postseason spot. So never take the trips for granted, get into the postseason. But in the same breath, in the same mind, you can also want, okay, we got higher goals than just making it to the postseason. So I think that's where I'm at with this whole thing for the Brewers. Is I'm always appreciative of them getting to the postseason. Personally, I don't think I take them for granted. I don't know about other fans and such or whatnot. I think it's a little bit different than maybe a little bit with Packers and such, but I don't take it for granted. But I also think it's fair to say we want a little bit more than just going to the postseason. And I think if you asked again, the Brewers themselves, they'd probably say the same thing. Hey, we accomplished one goal. We got into the postseason. We still got a couple more that we want to accomplish before the regular season's over with. But there's for sure, we have bigger goals ahead of us. And honestly, I think, once we get to the postseason, we'll see how this regular season finishes up and such. But still with this, even though they've got the most wins in Major League Baseball, and even if they do clinch that top spot throughout the postseason, there's going to be some outside noise and there's going to be some outside doubters that I would hope keeps this team a little bit humble. And I think that's still what's kind of fueling them. They know that people still don't believe them, regardless with their 91 wins and the only team in the bigs with at least 90 or more wins. They know there's still going to be that doubt from the talking heads out there. It's going to be there. But maybe that's something that they can hopefully still use, not only to keep themselves humble, keep them focused, and that's the driving force to hopefully making a deep postseason run. But nonetheless, we know we are going to watch the Brewers in October. We're going to watch them in October, hopefully for a big chunk of the month. But right now, we know we will. We just don't know what spot yet they're going to be. Are they going to be the top team in the National League? Are they going to be division champs? Well, let's hit that up. Let's talk a little bit more Brewers. Let's talk about this weekend series. Jose Quintana, he's injured now, suffers a calf injury in the game yesterday. How much of an effect could that have going forward as we inch closer to the postseason itself? So let's recap this past weekend. Brewers, by the way, off day today, so no game to kind of preview there. But let's take a look back at this past weekend and a weekend series win for the Brewers. And now maybe some shuffling around with the pitching staff. We'll hit all that up. Coming up after these quick words. Looking to do a little flooring update in your space, whether it's your home, your office, your place of work, the man cave, the bedroom, the kitchen, wherever the case may be. Make it easy on yourself and visit our good friends at Carpet City Flooring Center right here in Eau Claire. Whether it's carpet you're looking for, maybe some luxury vinyl plank, some tile, they got it all and more. Give them a visit. 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire. And if you're not even sure, or maybe you got questions about what would actually work the best, maybe look the best, what's within my budget and such. I need some advice. I need some tips. Hey, the team over there, the family over there at Carpet City Flooring Center can help you out more and with all that. So again, go visit them today. 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire. You can also check out their website, carpetcitywi.com. So this weekend, Brewers, after struggling against the Rangers, they come back to the friendly confines of American Family Field and pick up a series win against the Cardinals, taking 2 out of 3. Their lone loss coming from yesterday's game, but also needed to have a little comeback drama for Saturday night's game to get that victory to essentially then, well, it did clinch the series here for the Brewers. But let's go back to the last couple of games here for the Crew, just to kind of recap the weekend, which helped propel the Brewers to be the only team, or the first and only team so far, to have at least 90 or more wins. Going back to Friday night's game, Quinn Priester picking up his 13th win on the season to improve to 13-2. Guys, I mean, Priester here, and this streak that every time he starts, the team wins, comes away with a win. He may not get credited with a win, but the team is coming away with W's. And you look at what he's not only been doing throughout this entire season, because that's a trait now that we're gonna, I think, look back on whenever this season is over with. And you talk about moves, front office moves, trades, whatever. This is easily, if there was an award for most impactful trade of the season, this would have to be a finalist. This move would have to be one of those. And it was a move that, let's be real, the Brewers were kind of forced to make with all the injuries to begin the season at the pitching department, on the pitching side. And again, a big narrative surrounding that trade was Brewers gave up too much. They gave up too much for him. Right now, it's looking like a huge bargain. But in that game Friday night, he went 5 1/3, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, struck out 5 to pick up his 13th win of the season. Also, ERA down to a 3.25 in that game. Yelich hit his 28th home run on the season, that moonshot that he had in that game. Also, Cheerio collecting a couple of hits. You had Terang, a little bit of a different lineup too. You had Terang batting in that 3 spot. Yelich was in the 5. So Pat Murphy's been kind of, I don't want to say messing around, but adjusting the lineup for that batting lineup every so often, almost weekly or every couple weeks here. So a little different with that. Collins collecting a couple hits too. Jory Ortiz at the bottom of the lineup also collecting a couple hits. Then Saturday night's dramatic game, a 9-8 victory in extra innings, went 10 innings, but Brewers were chipping away a little bit after the Cardinals jumped out to 1-0 lead. Brewers tied it, but the Cardinals putting up 3, or 1 in the 5th, excuse me, a couple more in the 6th. And then Brewers, 8th inning, 9th inning, just chipping away, 2 in the 8th. Cardinals putting up another run at the top of the 9th, thinking maybe it's a little insurance runs, but the Brewers were able to add 3. Cardinals didn't score in the top of the 1st, and it's like, or top of the 10th, and it's like, oh boy, here we go. And this team, 2 runs in the bottom of the 10th, thanks to Monasterio with the walk-off. Durbin gets on, he gets a run across, and then Andrew picks up a big Uh, Obviously, big walk-off hit to propel the Brewers to a come-from-behind victory at 9-8. Freeland a couple hits, Cheerio a couple hits, Contreras with a couple of hits. Mentioned Caleb Durbin had a couple of hits in that game too, but that was also Jacob Mizorowski's start. He went 5 innings, 7 hits, 4 earned runs, giving up a couple of home runs in the game too. So, but that dramatic come from behind victory leading into, well, first of all, secured the series for the Crew in that one. And Brewers trying to go for the sweep yesterday, not able to get it done. They were hanging around. Cardinals put up 3 runs right away in the second inning. Brewers with a couple solo shots from Caleb Durbin and Wisconsin native Danny Jansen finally getting a home run. But Brewers just not able to chip away at it. Quintana gets charged with a loss, 4 innings, 3 earned runs, and a couple of Ks. But perhaps the big thing to come out of that is the injury to Quintana. Calf injury. Sounds like he's going to undergo an MRI. Got hit with a comebacker and such. And with just a couple weeks left of the regular season, maybe now kind of puts his potential spot in a playoff rotation in jeopardy. We'll see what kind of transpires here with that, but you got to wonder, how is that spot looking potentially in a playoff rotation? I still think we got our top 3. We know the top 3. It is Peralta, it is Woodruff, it is Quinn Priester. That anything else besides that would kind of surprise me. Now, if they go 4-man, does it now with the injury? Does it go to Miz? Does it go to Mizorowski? Does it go to a little piggyback bullpen kind of start here? You got Chad Patrick now coming out of the pen, getting some work out of relief in a relief situation. So we'll kind of wait and see the results from this Jose Quintana injury. But I got to imagine if he's going to be missing or going to be placed on the injured list, got to wonder if that's going to take him out of a potential starting rotation spot in the postseason. And it's a bummer. I mean, you got a veteran, a guy who's been there before how many times in those situations, obviously a little bit of a different pitcher than what you get with the Miz or even Freddie Peralta in that. But maybe that opens up a door for Mizorowski getting that 4th rotation spot, or maybe they kind of all hands on deck for a potential spot in that turn of the rotation. Remains to be seen here in these last few days. But a couple players from this past weekend who had really good weekends, and you kind of look at what they've been doing lately here, and you're hoping that they can carry this into the postseason. But that's Jackson Chourio and Caleb Durbin. I want to talk a little bit about those 2 guys here from what they've been doing from an offensive position. Although Jackson Chourio with the sweet catch Saturday night, roaming center field too, that was laying it all out and making that was pretty sweet. But from an offensive side, you look at Jackson Chourio here, and in his last 119 at bats, and I know that's kind of going back to pre-injured list, so it's combined there. But in his last 119 at bats, we're talking his last 30 games, Jackson Chourio has been hitting .345, slugging .563. You want to narrow it down to his last 7 games, his last 28 at bats, he's hitting .357, slugging .643, and an on base of .406. I mean, Jackson Chourio is he's feeling right now, and he's a couple stolen bases away from getting another 2020 season. And I know that's going to be lower than what the goal or the predictions were for potentially a 30-30 season, but the injury, obviously keeping him out, had a big hamper on that, handcuffed him there a little bit. But you look at some of the numbers that he's still put up, and I know some people are going to say, maybe he didn't live up to his last year numbers and such. On the contrary here, I mean, he's so far this year averaging .280. He's a career .277, and I know it's a very small sample size of his career because of last year. But his OPS, he's an 802 this year, 797 career. He's a little bit down on the on-base percentage, but, still on pace to what he did last year, maybe even a little bit higher in other areas. And then Caleb Durbin. I think his play right now is kind of flying under the radar here a little bit. But you look at this series against the Cardinals. In 3 games, he collected 5 hits, including a home run yesterday. Struck out only once in these 3 games. That was yesterday. Last 107 games, or 107 at-bats. 280. Narrow it down a little bit more. His last 7 games, Caleb Durbin, 333. On-base percentage of a 429, slugging 542. Overall, this season, he's an OPS of a 739, average 262, and an on-base percentage of a 337. I think you look at what he's done lately, I feel like it does get a little overlooked and maybe not appreciated as much. And even for the overall season that he has been having here for the Brewers. Remember, he began the season in AAA. First appearance back in the middle of April. And you kind of break it down by month for Caleb Durbin. And since June, he has been pretty darn consistent and pretty darn solid. The month of June, he hit 296. July, he hit 283. August, he slipped down a little bit, 255. But so far in September, Caleb Durbin is hitting 308. And I think he has gotten better from a defensive standpoint, from a guy that mostly played second and short, gets acquired by the Brewers in the offseason in the Devin Williams trade. They have him go over to third. And you kind of go back to spring training and maybe even the earlier parts of the regular season. He had a good glove, but a little bit off on some of the throws in that. And for a guy who probably spent the majority of time playing second short, a little bit of an adjustment at the hot corner there. But I think he's gotten better as the season has progressed from his defensive side too. And you just hope these 2 youngsters here can carry in their level of play when we get to the postseason. Because I think there are 2 interesting cases where, I don't want to say for everybody, but I think if you ask maybe just generally, hey, is Jackson Sherry having a good year? And they're like, yeah, but not as good as last year. Well, I don't think that's fully accurate. I don't think that's fully on par. Because if you really break it down and you kind of look at it, it's like, oh, yeah, he's okay. Actually has a higher average right now, and he's on pace for saves, another 2020 season. You factor out he missed a lot of time. That factored into it, and how about just giving a little bit of love to Joey Ortiz and what he's been able to do offensively here as of late too. Last 94 at-bats, Joey Ortiz is 287. Heck, his last 7 games, he's 353. He's a very streaky guy. There's no question about it. Very streaky. But he's kind of back up to his career averages. Still down in the on-base percentage and the OPS, but average-wise, he's a career 234, and he's hitting 230 right now. But in a state of what have you done for me lately, Joey Ortiz has been solid offensively lately. That is such a, you kind of break it down month by month. This is crazy stuff here. Look at Joey. I'm looking at Joey Ortiz month by month here. So we know the first couple months were just awful. March, those first few games, 176. April, 195. May, 160. That is, June bounces back, 277 in the month of June. July, tanks again, down to 206. August, he was ridiculous. 343. September so far, 206. But lately, he's been better. But you want to talk about a streaky hitter. That's Joey Ortiz. I just hope when they get to October baseball and playoff baseball, he's on that hot streak. But all right, we got to take a quick break to wrap up the first hour. We got a few texts to catch up on, especially when it comes to the state of the NFC North. We'll hit those up coming up a little bit later on. Got a busy weekend coming up. Starts on Friday for Kegs and Eggs, September 19th, Friday, 8 a.m. to 10:45 a.m. at the Northern Wisconsin State Fairgrounds. So if you got the day off and you're like, hey, a little breakfast, get set for Oktoberfest and such. Why wouldn't I want to partake in that? Well, you can. It starts at 8 a.m. and again goes to 10:45 a.m. Attendees will get a free entry to Oktoberfest, a breakfast, and one free drink ticket. Free donations for 4-H and Oktoberfest are encouraged, plus a free hat for the first 25 people. And then Friday and Saturday, it's Oktoberfest at the Northern Wisconsin State Fairgrounds. You can head to our website, sportstalk1051.com, and click on the icon on the left side for scheduled events, vendors, bands, all the festivities going on for the 22nd annual Oktoberfest this Friday and Saturday at the Northern Wisconsin State Fairgrounds in Chippewa Falls. And then Sunday, Packtoberfest. We're going to be at our good friends, the VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue, starting at 9 a.m. VFW Post is going to have their breakfast buffet going on. We're going to do a special Green Bay pregame show from 10 to 11. Well, first 35 to show up will get a free pint of Oktoberfest, Sam Adams Oktoberfest, plus some other giveaways and such. So, but that'll be going on till about 9 to kick off for the Green Bay Cleveland game coming up for week 3 this weekend. So busy weekend. If you like your Oktoberfests, you got plenty of options each day on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we're going to talk a little. I'm going to talk some football coming up in the next hour because I only got like a minute and a half here to the top of the hour. So the state of the NFC North. Week 2 isn't officially done yet. We got 2 Monday night games tonight, but NFC North, each team got 2 games in. When you look at the first 2 weeks and you look at the first two games for each team, how would you view the state of the NFC North? How would you describe the NFC North? All right, let me know. Hit me up with a text or comment on the video streams. We'll chat about that a little bit. Surveyor, I'll bring up your question coming up in the next hour as well. So, but probably also a good reminder, if you have not made your picks yet for tonight's Monday night games, you probably should go to our website, click on that Fan Cave tab, and get your picks in now. Because as we know, and as we've seen every single year, one game could make the difference in our pro football pickup challenge. And I'm curious to see how some of the survivor ones are going. Curious to see how that one's going, especially with the Colts now jumping out to a 2-0 lead, or I shouldn't say 2-0 lead, 2-0 record. Maybe a little bit of a surprise there. I would say that's probably a little bit of a surprise, but we've got John, Todd, Carl, Peter, Brian, all tied for first at 24. Myself, Tim, Jolene, James, Luke, all just one back. So it is very tight. Very, very, very tight. I like it. All right. One in. We got a couple more to go here. Switching gears, and we'll talk a little football. Little football coming up after these news updates. Second hour kicking off right now on this Monday morning, September 15th. Appreciate you tuning in. If you're making us a part of your start, first hour, we talked all baseball. Brewers clinching a playoff spots over the weekend, also taking 2 out of 3 against the Cardinals over the weekend. 91 wins for the Brewers with 12 to go, and still plenty to be chasing. They're still chasing a division championship, holding on to a 5.5 game lead over the Cubbies, holding on to a 2 game lead over the Phillies for first place in the National League. Might be a week to do even a little bit more scoreboard watching, though, because the Phillies are out west taking on the Dodgers for a series. That should be a really good one. But it's also with those two races, keep in mind, the Cubs hold the tiebreaker against the Brewers, so it's essentially like a 4.5 game lead. However, the Brewers hold the tiebreaker over the Phillies, so even though it's a 2 game lead, it's essentially like a 3 game lead for the Brewers. So something to kind of keep tabs on here moving forward. But we do know the Brewers will be playing playoff baseball. We just don't know what seed they will be. So we'll get back to some more baseball talk, no question about it. But one question I kind of threw out there: Brewers going to be going to the postseason 7 of their last 8 years. 7 of the last 8 years, Brewers now postseason. And before this stretch, they went a total of 4 times. Have you been taking the Brewers for granted, their success for granted over the last few years? I can't speak for everybody. I don't feel like I have been, but I also feel like at the same time, it's okay. It is absolutely okay to want more, expect more, have higher goals, have higher expectations. But be honest, where are you at on that? So we'll bring that back up when we get back to some more baseball talk. But one question too, I'm genuinely curious to hear from fans of every team in the NFC North. Now I know we're probably gonna get more input from the Packers fans, which duh. But I know we've got Lions fan listeners. I know we got Bears listeners, and I know we've got Viking fan listeners. Give me your assessment of your team and the NFC North overall. Give me your state of the NFC North assessment is what I'm trying to say, and of your own team. I know it's only 2 games in, okay, but this is what we have to go on right now. These 2 games. How would you kind of when you look at everything? How would you kind of like assess it? Couple text messages. We got Zach back on the video stream saying, "Good morning, Dan. Interesting weekend of football. Lions looked like themselves. I wouldn't sleep on them at all. Vikings offensive line didn't look great last night." Also, got a couple texts here. Surveyor says, "Good morning, DK. Just want to say that after watching yesterday's games, it is clearly evident that the Vikings and the Bears are significantly worse right now than the Packers. Both like subpar backups yesterday. Caleb cannot do anything outside of the first drive, which is scripted, and JJ is not reading the field. Oh, yeah, and the Lions are still really good." C-Bomb says the NFL will humble you quick after 2 weeks. Lovely to love, or I'm assuming that's supposed to say love to see the Bears still suck, beating up the cocky Lions and watching Minnesota flutter at home was phenomenal. 2-0 atop the North, all is good in Packerland. North isn't looking as dominant as it was last season, but it's still very early. So I guess, yeah, again, I don't wanna overreact too much to the first 2 weeks, but it's Monday. We could do a little overreaction Monday on this thing, right? So, but, I think when you look at the Lions, we'll start off with Lions, just my opinion. Again, I wanna hear the opinion from each fan base, okay? I don't have to say your name if you want to, like, I don't want my name thrown. I don't have to, but I think when you look at the Lions, yep, now was maybe a little bit of an adjustment between still with the coordinators? Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't think the Lions are going to all of a sudden drop 50 some points every single week going forward, but they look like the old Lions. And you hear some of the comments from players. What was it? Brian Branch after the game said, like, what did he say? Like Ben Johnson, they felt betrayed, which I haven't. Come on, dude. I mean, first of all, I guess whatever gets you motivated for a game. I mean, how many times have we seen it in sports where, guys, people will use whatever to get a little bit of a chip on their shoulder to get a little extra motivated or what? But the whole betrayed thing, just stop. Okay. The guy got a head coaching job, got a pay raise, got a promotion. Okay. Players do the same things. It's called free agency. They can force their hands in a lot of different areas too. Trade thing to me is a joke. Yeah, the quote from Brian Branch via ESPN, very motivated. We knew coming in this game that this is personal. Really, all these games are personal, but this one we felt like we've been betrayed from the staff to players. We love Ben. We still love Ben. He's a great coach. He's a great mastermind. But yeah, it was time to get after him. He could have went anywhere else, but he's got to see us again. Branch said the locker room has immense respect for Johnson, but he didn't agree with the decision to stay in the division. Stop. Okay? Just that whatever. Again, maybe it's just more from the motivation standpoint of it all, but it's like, all right, that's kind of meh. But yeah, they sure looked like the old Lions from the last few years. Probably a little bit they wanted to put on a big time performance in front of their old coach. How many times have we seen that in the world of sports? Vikings wise, this you're going to go through some growing pains, I think, with a younger quarterback. Not every younger quarterback, and essentially this is JJ McCarthy's rookie year since he was hurt last year. But I mean, not every quarterback's going to go out there like a Jane Daniels and lead your team in his rookie season to 12 wins. You may have some hiccups along the way. You may have a little bit of growing pains along the way. I think that's more the norm than the exception. It probably doesn't help when you're having some issues along the offensive line. That's not going to make things easier. Bears wise, it's only 2 games in, but I think you're probably going to start to hear more people say like, "Oh, it's easier to be a coordinator than a head coach," and that was going to be one of the question marks going forward, making that adjustment from an offensive coordinator to a head coach when it comes to Ben Johnson. But if you're looking at the Bears' schedule coming up here, I mean, where's the win coming from? Is it the Cowboys coming to Chicago this weekend who just picked up a win? Is it going to visit the Raiders? You got the Commanders, you got the Saints, Ravens. Bengals season could be completely different now if Joe Burrow is going to miss a boatload of time. But you look at it, and you can call me a homer. I don't care. But you look at the state of the NFC North, and in my opinion, the cream of the crop right now is Green Bay. I mean, you look at it from a defensive standpoint. You look at it from even a consistency on the offensive standpoint. Yep, the Lions dropped 52 on the offense, but from a consistency standpoint, the offense, if we just have these 2 games to base it off of, right now the cream of the crop is Green Bay. I don't think anybody can argue that. They got to win against Detroit. Detroit is number 2 right now. If you had to power rank the NFC North, it's pretty dang easy. It's Green Bay, it's Detroit, it's Minnesota, and probably Chicago. Not probably because it is. It's just by default. It's that simple. But I think, you're starting, and this kind of goes to Surveyor's question. I think it's a good question. Surveyor said, Question for you. Recently, the national media coverage on the Packers has been nothing but positive, which is justified because they are playing well. But is the coverage and the aura around the team due to them playing really well, or is it just Micah? I'm not used to all the positive talk around the team. Normally, that's reserved for the Chiefs. And, the first 2 weeks of the season, you are hearing a ton of national pundits saying it's Eagles and Packers, especially after yesterday when the Eagles beat the Chiefs. It's Eagles and Packers in the NFC right now, which still 15 games may not seem like a lot. That's an eternity in the NFL. A lot of stuff could still change, but I get it and I understand it. But to answer your question, Surveyor, I think it's a little bit of both. I'm not trying to cop out, but I think one leads into the other. Because even before the season started, even after the Micah Parsons trade and before the season started, you still had a lot of national pundits out there not really picking the Packers to win a division. I mean, I can't tell you what surprised me, and this was, again, after the Micah Parsons trade. You go to all the picks leading into the postseason, playoff picks, and to see the amount, I remember, I think it was Sports Illustrated, to see all their picks, which was like double-digit staff members. I think half of them had Green Bay making the postseason, and like 80% of those who picked Green Bay to go into postseason had them as like the 7th seed. So I think there was like, okay, yep, they're a little bit better with the Parsons trade, but are they better than Detroit? Are they maybe, and even some, are they better than the Minnesota because of, their offensive playmakers surrounding the young quarterback? A lot of love for Kevin O'Connell as a head coach and play caller, and the defensive side of things with Brian Flores. There's still a little skepticism. And then all of a sudden, Green Bay comes out firing the way they are, especially on the defensive side. I think has probably surprised just how good their defenses looked the first 2 weeks. I think that's surprised a lot of people. But I think it's a little bit of both. Yes, the Micah Parsons trade acquisition has, lit the football world on fire. But I think his acquisition to this team changed the vibe of the team too. Added a little bit of swag to the team. Added a little bit of confidence to this thing. That aura that you mentioned. I think it goes hand in hand. Because I think you add a guy like him, that changes the mindset of your team overall too. It's like, oh yeah, now we go. You're probably a little bit more confident. Your goals probably just got, they probably still had Super Bowl goals, but you're probably like, yep. Now it almost like hyper focuses you in a sense. Now it's like we got to play up to that potential. We got to play up to that level that we know we are capable of. I just think it has the extra attention or the talk or the positive praise surrounding the Packers. Yes, it's the addition of Micah Parsons, but it's because I think it's surprising people just how quickly their defense has looked so good. And you factor it in the two offenses that they've played against. Now, we can make excuses or we can make cases against the Detroit ones. New offensive coordinator, and what if they play now? Would it be a little bit different? You got to play who you got to play when you got to play them on your schedule. But I think it does factor into it. It's like, oh wow, they did that to Detroit, and then they followed it up by doing it against Jane Daniels and Debo and Terry McLaurin and Cliff Kingsbury's offense. Their defense did it against those two offenses coming in at high expectations. Because when we talk about the Packers right now, it's not about the offense, or at least from a national perspective, they're not talking necessarily about the offense. It's the defense. So I think there's just a contingency that is surprised that they're clicking this quick or they're looking really good this quick in the season. And the fact that Parsons is on a snap count. Like, we haven't seen him. We haven't seen the Packers completely unleash him yet. And I think there's this mindset that once he's off that snap count, watch out. It's going to be even more dominant. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll have some more. Give me your state of the NFC North coming up after these quick words. If you're a bow hunter, hopefully you had some luck this past weekend with the opener. I know our good friend Tim Kaiser did. If you missed our episode on Saturday morning for Tailgate Outdoors, be available in podcast this morning. But I know Timmy had some. I'll let him tell the story once we get him back on and such. But with bow season now fully in swing, it is a reminder that we are inching closer and closer to the deer gun season. So If you're still looking for that new deer rifle or maybe a scope or any other accessories to go along with it, go visit our good friends at Tilden Gun. All right, go visit our good friends at Tilden Gun. You can check out their website, tildengun.com, or stop by their shop and talk with Sean and Hunter over there. 12427 90th Avenue in Chippewa Falls. A couple more texts to catch up on here. We've got Aaron saying the Bears should be embarrassed for losing to the Vikings. It will be a two-team race this year for the division. Living a dream. Jeff says if Detroit is good, they should have looked better against the Packers. 50 points against the Bears. Williams is overrated. Bears still suck. Packers defensive line is better without Clark. Watching Cowboys against the Giants, Clark had 2 good plays, but was getting blown up by the Giants offensive linemen, who I have no idea who those guys are. One of them you should know. It's Runyon Jr., former Packer over there. I'm not ready to close the door though on Detroit. You know, say what you want about week 1, they should have looked better and such, but not to make excuses for Detroit or anything like that. They're still a good team. They're still going to be a good team, and they're still a playoff caliber team in my opinion. So I think they'll be fine. I think the next time Green Bay faces them, maybe it's a different outcome, probably a little bit closer and such. But I think that for Detroit, it's going to be a good test for them coming up on Monday as they take on the Ravens a week from today. That should be an interesting game. Jair inactive this past week too, which I know some Packers fans are like, been down that road before. So, but I wouldn't completely close the door on the Lions right now. So, and again, we'll see Lions and Packers again on Thanksgiving Day. But when you look at the state of the NFC North, kind of in these first 2 weeks, I mean, again, kind of what I was saying a little bit earlier. To me, the cream of the crop right now is Green Bay. I don't think that's a bold statement or anything. I think it's evidence. I'm not ready to close the door, as I said, on the Lions. Chicago's got some stuff they got to figure out. There's no question about it. They got to figure some stuff out. Maybe get on the same page. Try to figure out. You got a rookie head coach. We'll see how it all kind of plays out towards the end of the season. I think that's going to be the big gauge here once we get like to the halfway mark and kind of see how they finish that season. Minnesota's got to figure out some things too with their quarterback, with JJ McCarthy. Going to have the ups and downs with it, but still incredibly early to, I think, make some full proclamations yet on these teams here. But with that being said, when you look at the first 2 weeks of the season here, if you're maybe a fan of the Chiefs, you're like, oh man, what's going on with us? Starting off the season 0-2. Oh, they'll probably. Why is this game, by the way, a Sunday night game? Chiefs and Giants. Why in the world is that a Sunday night game? Like, who decided that? I would assume the Chiefs are going to get that victory, but I'm looking at the Chiefs' schedule, and okay, you're 0-2. You're probably going to be 1-2. Then the Ravens. I don't know about the Jaguars. Then you got the Lions. We'll see about the Raiders. You got the Commanders. You got the Buffalo Bills. Broncos are on there. The Colts, who are just like probably the biggest surprise in the first 2 weeks. Like, I'm kind of going to hold on to that for tomorrow once the season or week 2 is fully in the bank here. You got Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Then you got a date with the Texans, Chargers rematch, Titans, Broncos, and Raiders. But I think if you're the Chiefs, there's definitely one thing that's kind of evidence that there's an issue with on that team. And it's still, I think, receivers. They're banged up. Xavier Worthy's banged up. Rice out. They can't throw the ball down the field. Yeah, they had that one touchdown to inch it a little bit closer, and Patrick Mahomes missed missed him wide open before that too, but I think they're having some issues in the receiving department moving the ball down the field and such. But Kelsey dropping an easy pass that would have been for a touchdown in that. Boy, I'd probably be a little nervous if I'm a Chiefs fan, a little bit. But you're also probably comforted with the fact that Patrick Mahomes is your starting quarterback, and Andy Reid's a pretty darn good coach, and they'll figure it out when that time comes in that. But I want to go back to the Packers here because this is back on Friday afternoon when it was reported and such, and I'm really curious to see this week with the practice report and that. But Zach Tom, so according to Tom Silverstein, torn muscle in his oblique, and he worked out early in the day on that Thursday night game, September 11th. And he just apparently he couldn't run without pain. And this is something we need to really keep an eye on, or the Packers need to keep an eye on. And I guess there is a little bit of concern surrounding this. Now, I feel like if this was a major concern right away, that there would have been a move, that maybe he's on the IL. Maybe there was a procedure done in that. But I think this is definitely something to kind of follow along here. And that's where I look at this week as hopefully maybe we can get him back at practice. Maybe just need a little bit of rest to get going here or to kind of recover from that torn oblique. But you look at the upcoming Packers schedule here, and you got a date with the Browns coming up, and you're thinking, oh, crap, Myles Garrett, right? Myles Garrett. Because I got to imagine if Zach Tom's going to be missing this game and they roll out there with a rookie and Belton at right tackle, Myles Garrett is going to be licking his darn chops. And Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave, get ready for chipping a lot. Because that's what's probably going to happen if Zach Tom's going to be missing any amount of time. Then you got the Cowboys who just, hey, they needed a pass rusher for some reason. Sarcasm. They just signed Jadeveon Clowney. Bengals coming in. Then you got Trey Hendrickson over there. Looking a little bit further down the line, Steelers coming up on October 26th. TJ Watt in that. Yeah, I hope Zach Tom's not out for that length of time, but if there is a little bit concern with that, you kind of have to factor that. And Zach Tom is one of their best, perhaps their best run blocking offensive linemen. And so it's not only just the effect from protecting Jordan Love, it's it's affecting the running game too. Not having one of your best run blockers out there, it's affecting Josh Jacobs in the ability to run the football that we know Green Bay wants to do. Control the time, control the possession, have success running the football. But I got to tell you, I really, really hope Zach Tom and that offensive line, as the starters are all healthy and ready to go when the Eagles come to town November 10th. Because you kind of look at what the Eagles were able to do against the Chiefs yesterday, and that, man, they're still good up front. They're still really good up front. But I think we'll find out more as this week progresses. Once the team's back at practice, we get those injury designations and such. Jayden Reed supposed to be having surgery tomorrow, it sounds like, and the thought is that he could be back in November. And the loss of Jayden Reed, I think, is definitely, I mean, it's a big loss. Let's not kid ourselves. It's a big loss. He is a guy, he is a that when you see what he can do within this offense, because I think a lot of people just still assume that he is a slot receiver, that he is a guy that you just plug in at that slot, and that's what he does. But he does more than that. I mean, for crying out loud, he was on the outside when he got hurt on there. But he's a guy that can play on the outside. He is a guy that can play that slot position. He is a guy that you can involve in the running game and some jet sweeps. He is, as we like to say, a Swiss Army knife within this offense, a guy that could do multiple things within this offense. So him missing an extended amount of time is going to take a hit on the offense. However, I do feel like the Packers have a good depth of pass catchers and a good depth of players that, can help fill the void collectively in the absence of Jayden Reed. And I think the big one big guy or one big player that is going to have to either, I don't know if I want to say step up, because I think that's kind of insinuating, well, the guy's been a bum as of late, and he really hasn't, just the opportunities. But I think one guy that could really help fill that void left by Jayden Reed is going to be the rookie Matthew Golden. A guy that could do a lot of this, similar stuff to Jayden Reed, involved in the running game, can play inside, outside. We know about his blazing speed. But I look at a guy like Matthew Golden going forward now is going to be a guy that I think the Packers are going to look at more. Jayden Reed, when you look at the offense, was probably their main. If I know the whole debate is about number one wide receiver. Do they need a number one wide receiver? Do they have to have? Which, by the way, I don't know if anybody saw this last week too. Richard Sherman, I think it was on Up and Adams, said that the Packers had to come out and declare who a number one wide receiver was. Otherwise, it was just going to, affect the team and such. What? Like, are you kidding? Has there ever been a team that has publicly come out and said, we are naming our number one wide receiver? This isn't Major League Baseball where you're naming your number one starter, or you're doing this, or you're starting quarterback. To have to come out and publicly say so-and-so is our number one. No, we all know who the number one wide receivers are for a lot of teams. I don't think I've ever seen an NFL team ever come out and make a statement and say so-and-so is our number one wide receiver. What? I mean, that was just ridiculous. But anyways, I think if you asked fans or people, they probably would have said Jayden Reed's their top guy, top go-to guy. So the loss of him is going to be a loss. But I think there's, there's an opportunity here for Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden was already a starter in that. But I think he's going to be relied on a little bit more. I look at other guys, Dontavian Wicks. Wicks is now going to be elevated to that third wide receiver. We know the Packers are high on Dontavian Wicks. We saw him make some nice plays, some big catches in that game against the Commanders. Here is an opportunity for him now. This is an opportunity for him to showcase, okay, the dropsies are a thing of the past. I am still the guy that you thought I was last year and the year before. Wicks is going to be counted upon more. He's going to have his snap counts increase. But this is an opportunity for him to showcase the talent that the Packers really believe that he has. And we've seen glimpses of. Tucker Kraft is the easy pick here too, but I honestly believe Tucker Kraft is, and will be a focal part of the offense going forward. So I look at this as an opportunity to get Luke Musgrave on the field more too, and continue to have more two tight end sets and get him more involved in the passing game. So even with Jayden Reed going to be missing a couple months here, I do feel like there are options on the offensive side to help fill that void. It's going to come from the rookie Matthew Golden. It's going to come from a Dontavian Wicks. It's going to come from a Luke Musgrave. They've already got Josh Jacobs, Tucker Kraft, Romeo Doubs all in there. But I think they can help fill that void with a collective effort from those guys and some creative play calling. And maybe we'll see Savion Williams' usage increase now too, the other rookie wide receiver. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll have more More football. I want to hear from you, though. What's the state of the NFC North in your opinion? Hit us up with a quick text, 715-830-1912. Stick around. We'll be back after these quick words. When pain or injury slows you down, the team at Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine is here to help you get moving again. From sprains and fractures to joint replacements and sports injuries, they offer advanced care tailored to your needs. Their experienced doctors and therapists work with you every single step of the way from diagnosis to recovery so you can get back to doing what you love. Convenient, compassionate, and focused on results. They're the experts in keeping you active. Let's get started today by making your appointment by visiting cvosm.com. That's cvosm.com. So, I do know I got to get to, we got a couple of texts in there, but my computer just froze up because I was uploading our Tailgate Outdoors episode from Saturday to the Man Cave podcast. So, if you got a quick second, if you don't mind, go follow the Man Cave podcast, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, all over the place. And again, if you got a quick second, if you give it a 5-star rating and a positive review on Apple, because that's what helps the algorithms and helps get the podcast out there a little bit more too. So, but yeah, new episode of it, Tailgate Outdoors. It was on Saturday morning. If you missed it, is now available in podcast form through the Man Cave podcast, or you can also look up Tailgate Outdoors wherever you get your podcasts. We're going to get back to some more Brewers talk coming up here too. Again, Brewers off day today before they begin their series against the Angels with just a dozen games left to go here. 91 wins. How many wins in the final 12 do you think Brewers will get? And let's do some prediction time on this Monday morning. I know it was a long weekend. You got to get ready to get back at work and such. So let's get the brain flowing here a little bit, all right? How many wins do you think the Brewers will get? And will they finish this thing off with the best record in all of Major League Baseball? Or do you think the Phillies will catch them? Phillies are 2 games back. Brewers do hold the tiebreaker. Phillies have the Dodgers coming up right now for this series, for their upcoming series, starting tonight on the West Coast. Then they've got the Diamondbacks, then the Marlins, and they wrap it up with the Twins. So Twins, if you want to help out your friends just across the border over here, you could go do that. But then we know the Brewers schedule. They've got the Angels right now. They also have, after the Angels, they're going to be going up against the Cardinals in St. Louis. And the Cardinals probably wouldn't love nothing more to play a little spoiler to their division rivals, one of their division rivals. Then after that, Padres and Reds. So we'll talk a little bit more about baseball coming up in the next hour here. But I just want to throw that question out there. All right, I want to throw that question out there. Kind of a little prediction. Will the Brewers finish this thing off when it's all said and done with the top spot in the National League? How many wins in the final 12 games here for the Brewers? They're sitting at 91 right now. Their franchise record is 96. Will they get to 100? I don't know about that anymore. I'm not quite sure on that anymore. So, Minor, we've got 2 NFL games tonight, Monday night. Second week of the season. They've kind of done that for the last few years here. But we've got Buccaneers taking on the Texans. That's going to be your first game, 6 p.m. Second one, you got Chargers-Raiders. Chargers visiting the Raiders. So you got 2 of those, and then we're on to week 3 of the NFL season. Already on to week 3. And for the Packers, it's going to be their first road game. They're going to be taking on the Cleveland Browns, which, if anybody's wondering, so right now, Joe Flacco will be the quarterback when the Packers take on the Cleveland Browns. So, possibly a little bit of a feast time for that Packers defensive line. Right now, the Packers are opening up as a 7.5-point favorite going up against the Cleveland Browns. 7.5-point favorite. Does that really surprise anybody? Yeah, probably not. But Myles Garrett already in 2 games does have 3.5 sacks. And that's what's got me a little bit concerned, a little bit nervous if Zach Tom's not able to go, because I just got to imagine Myles Garrett's just going to try to feast off of Belton or Kennard or whoever's going to be playing over there. I have a feeling they're going to try to. And why wouldn't you if you're Jim Schwartz? Why wouldn't you want to line up Myles Garrett over a rookie offensive lineman? It's like, welcome to the league, kid. Go up against one of the best defensive linemen, defensive players in the entire football league. But, Packers opening up with their first 2 games at Lambeau Field. We're not going to see them at Lambeau too often anymore. We've got the Bengals coming to town on October 12th. But then, not going to see them again until November 2nd. So just one game at Lambeau Field in the month of October. And even that Bengals one now. I mean, we look at the first 2 weeks. Again, I want to save this more for next week or for tomorrow. But Bengals now with no Joe Burrow. He's going to be missing some time, going to be missing some months, probably even this whole season. That's changed the landscape, maybe for some teams, maybe even for that North Division. But even that game against the Packers, I mean, when the schedule came out, we're looking like, oh, man, that secondary, they're going to be tested with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. Yeah, we'll see how it all kind of plays out now. But, boy, what you just – and there was a ton of excitement for Joe Burrow coming in this year, a ton of MVP talk. And now he's got another injury. And this is a guy a couple years ago with that, was it the wrist or the arm injury, the hand injury, where there was still some question like, is he going to be able to come back from that? And he did. But now this severe turf toe injury, you're talking a grade 3. I think it's probably lucky he's not playing a position like receiver or corner, because you kind of wonder if that would essentially affect his career or maybe the end of the career. But one thing that is beneficial for the Bengals, Jake Browning, in his time when he played 7 games in 2023, he looked solid. Now, I don't know if that, he's got a chance here to probably say, or honestly, probably to make a boatload of cash. I mean, if he goes out there and he helps propel the Bengals to some wins and continues to lead that offense, that high charged, high power offense, he could probably make some serious dough. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. Yeah, because Schefter just tweeted a few minutes ago, Joe Burrow will need toe surgery that will sideline him a minimum of 3 months. Yeah. Ooh, that's pretty much the whole season. That you might as well just say he's done for the season. Yikes. All right, we got to take our final break here. Hopefully my texting line will load up, because I know I've got some Packer texts in there that I got to get to. So not ignoring you. It's just it keeps not loading. It'll load up though. All right, I promise you. Hit me up, 715-830-1912. Hey, maybe you were a hunter that had some success this past weekend and you're not sure where to take your deer to get processed. Take it to our friends at Mike's Star Market on the west side of Eau Claire. Professional venison processing, multiple different options of products to be made. Or if you haven't gotten your deer yet, keep it in mind to go visit our friends at Mike's Star Market. They can help you out over there. Or if you're getting ready for maybe some tailgating, got to get some brats and a bunch of other supplies, maybe some burgers, maybe some chicken, maybe just some good steaks over there too. Mike Star Market has everything that you would need to fire up those grills. So, uh, again, address 2238 Heimstead Road in Eau Claire. And I got to suggest, I got to recommend try those Bloody Mary beef strips. Oh, so favorite. We just opened up a package of some of the dill pickle beef sticks, snack sticks, sitting in the fridge right now. Had a couple of them yesterday. Those are awesome too. So go check it all out. Mike Star Market, west side of Eau Claire, baby. All right. We got a few minutes left to the top of the hour here. So give you a little bit of a preview of what's coming up here. So we've got Justice Cleveland's going to be joining us in the 9 o'clock hour. We'll do a local sports roundup with him, brought to you by our friends Carpet City Flooring Center. So we'll catch up with him. I know Blue Gold football off to a 2-0 start after picking up a victory in Ohio this past weekend. Stout fell to number 10 Wartburg 16-0. Plus, we'll look ahead or recap the latest in the high school football season. North picking up their first win. Looking ahead to this upcoming games this week. Other prep sports going on too. So we'll do some local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center with Justice in the 9 o'clock hour. He'll stick around. We'll talk some more green and gold with him and some more Brewers with him too. Badger football, I want to touch on that coming up at the top of the next hour. Badgers falling to Alabama this past weekend. I mean, if anybody's got anything they want to chime in about with the Badgers, please do so. Hit me up with the text or comment on the video streams if you like, or hit me up with an email. That works fine as well. But to me, they could just kind of play it out how at least I expected. I mean, just living up to their end of the bargain really was kind of the thought process I had with the Badger football team. Now they got Maryland coming up here. Then after that, I think it starts. Well, I guess I don't want to overlook Maryland, so maybe it actually starts this weekend. But I feel like going forward and through the month of October is really going to tell us a lot about this Badger football team and whether they have a shot to maybe make a bowl game. But we talk about expectations and higher expectations for a team like the Brewers, and that it's not enough to get to the postseason anymore. It's about a championship in that, and it wasn't that long ago that was kind of the expectation or what we wanted from a Badger football team. And now we're sitting here probably talking about, hey, we'll just be happy if we could become bowl eligible. But man, how things have quickly changed, right? Jeez. But it is what it is at this point, I guess. So, but I will talk a little Badger football coming up just past the top of the hour here. Want to get back to some more Brewers talk. Speaking of the Brewers, question we threw out in the first hour, if you haven't chimed in yet, do you feel like you or we as a whole, as Brewers fans, have taken the success of the Brewers over the last 8 years, clinching a playoff spot 7 times in the last 8 years, have we taken it for granted? Or no, you don't think so? What do you think? All right, let me know. I want to hear from you. Also, state of the NFC North. If you are a Bears fan, if you are a Vikings fan, if you are a Lions fan, if you are a Packers fan, give me your assessment on the state of the NFC North from what we've seen through the first 2 weeks. 2 in, couple more to go. We'll be back after these news updates. Third hour kicking off right now. We're at the halfway mark. Big thanks for making us a part of your start if you're up and at it this morning. Coming up next hour, about an hour from now, Justice Cleveland, sports director, WEAU 13 News, Sports Team 13 will join us. We'll do some local sports roundup. Looking back at the last couple days here from the local sports scene, and then look ahead to what's on the docket for this week. So he'll be joining us coming up, literally about an hour from now. So looking forward to catching up with JC in the EC. We're going to get back to some more Brewers talk as the Brewers clinching a playoff spot with 12 games left to go here. They've got the off day today before taking on the Angels tomorrow. They're currently holding a 5.5 game lead over the Cubs and a 2 game lead over the Phillies for the top spot in the National League. How many wins in these final 12 are you predicting for the Brewers? And do you think when it's all said and done, after these 12 games, will the Brewers have that number one spot? Will they have that number one spot in the National League, that number one seed? NFC North, we're taking your NFC North assessments. Rick, with the text on our Shoe Doctors bullpen line, you can hit us up with the text over there at 715-830-1912. Rick says Green Bay and Detroit are playoff teams. Minnesota is incomplete with McCarthy learning. Chicago has roster issues. Mike says, I agree with the loss of Jayden Reed is going to be big, but I think we're going to see a lot of Savion Williams. I think he's going to be stepping in there and doing a lot of the slot and jet sweeps and stuff like that. Kyle says, NFC North assessment, the Bears still suck. So, okay. If you want, and please feel free to chime in if you are a Vikings fan, a Lions fan, and a Bears. I genuinely want to get your opinions on your team and how you view the rest of the division, the first 2 weeks of the season. I genuinely want to hear it, and I'm curious your thoughts on it. So, Badgers, though, this weekend, how do you describe? Normally, when we're probably like, I shouldn't say normally because maybe this is the new normal, but a few years ago when the Badgers would get dominated 38-14, we're probably like, what the world is going on? Fire Paul Christ, do this, do that, sort of thing. And right now it's probably like, yep, what I expect. Honestly, it's what I expected heading into that game against Alabama. It's what I thought would happen. And I hate feeling that way, but it's what I thought would happen. Alabama covered. So, I mean, Danny O'Neal, 11 of 17 for $117, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Badgers not having a ton of success running the football. Danny O'Neal had the most attempts, but just for 7 yards credited. Just not a lot of success all over the place. And, I mean, Alabama was slinging it. Ty Simpson, 24 of 29. Look at this. Is a ridiculous stat line for a quarterback, like ridiculously good. And if you're the passing defense, you're like, what the heck? 24 of 29 for 382 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. He also led their team in rushing with 6 carries and 25 yards. Williams, receiver, $165, 2 touchdowns for him on 5 catches. So, I mean, it was just a domination from the Alabama passing game. Wipe our hands, I guess, and move forward and get ready for Maryland. But I honestly feel like if there is any chance of Wisconsin to become bowl eligible, it starts now with their Big Ten portion of the schedule. Got to beat Maryland to get your 3rd win of the season. You got Michigan, then you got Iowa, then you got Ohio State, and then you get Oregon. So in those 5 games, I think at minimum you have to go. You have to go what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 4, 5. Maybe 2 and 3. I'd like to say 3 and 2, but I mean, of that one, Michigan's probably the one that you have the better. It isn't probably. It is the better one, but you got to go to Michigan for that one. I would think you'd get a win against Maryland, but who the heck knows with this Badger team? You'd think maybe Iowa, you got a shot too. It's at Camp Randall, but again, who knows? I don't know. I feel like, okay, maybe get 2-3, go 2-3 in these final five or these next five. You're at 4 wins, and then your last 4, you got Washington coming to town. Maybe that gets you to 5 wins. Go to Indiana, we'll see. Then Illinois comes over, but they're a top 10 team, and then you finish up with Minnesota. Ugh. I think bare minimum, you got to go 2-3, but I'd like to go at least 3-2. That's kind of where I'm at this point. But I think, doesn't that say something about the state of this program when you lose 38-14? And yes, it's a top 25 team in the country, but still, when you lose 38-14, I think the best way to describe this is just like shrugging your shoulders. Nah, it's what I expected. I mean, the downfall of this program over the last few years has just been frustrating, disappointing, yet confusing, depressing. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. Just a few years ago, we're like, okay, could this, upward, where we had those different expectations, where we had like, all right, still like our bowl games, Rose Bowl, but maybe we want a little bit more. We want, we want to maybe start. Can we compete for maybe a championship and such? Now we're just sitting here saying, like, can we just get to a bowl game? Can we just have a signature win, for crying out loud? I mean, I can't remember a time in my generation. It's probably for some older listeners, you probably can, but like you lose 38-14 and you just shrug your shoulders. That's how I was like, my reaction was to it on Saturday. I was like, that's what I expected. And maybe for some people, they're like, I'm just surprised they got 14 points. Or I'm just surprised they just held them to 38. Man, what does that say? That's sad. That stinks. That's awful. We've got Paul on the YouTube stream says, I haven't been taking the Brewers winning for granted. The stretch of winning has been amazing. Have to appreciate it while we can because I'm not sure it will last much longer. Zach says, Paul, I agree. I don't know if I would have pictured the Brew Crew doing this well this season. It has been amazing. The thing is, though, too, with that, I don't know how much longer it would last. Is it fair to say, though, that it's lasted longer than what we probably expected? Like the last 8 years, they've made the postseason 7 times. I feel like it's lasted longer than what I expected, and I hope the trend continues that they're going to still be there. I mean, they've got these younger players that are gaining this amount of experience and that are really good players, and they're going to be the focal parts of this team if they aren't already. But I mean, to me, the expectation I think is like, I think it's still playoffs. I mean, they're not going to be losing unless they trade a lot of their top tier talent. I think going forward, the expectation is, at least for me, is still going to be postseason for the Brewers. It's still, for me, it's like, all right, can we get a little more now? And I think what's really just, and I'm with a lot of you too. I can't speak for everybody. I don't think I've been taking the Brewers' success for the last 8 years for granted. For a couple different reasons. One, it's such a long season, 162 games, and 7 spots in each league. To be one of those 7 after going through a 162 game regular season, I think is like, once you get that postseason, yeah, you're one of 7 in your league, one of 14, just under half. To go that length, to win that many games, and to get to the postseason, I think it almost kind of humbles you. And speaking of humbling, I think from a Brewers perspective, especially the last couple years, there's always been like, okay, how good are they actually going to be? Like they've surprised not only national people, but I think a lot of fans with just how good they've been. Specifically when you look at the last couple years. And they've blown off the doors of anybody's expectations this year. Nobody had it with 12 games left to go that the Brewers would still have the best record in Major League Baseball. So I think it kind of humbles, at least it does for me, it humbles me as a Brewers fan when we approach every season like, yeah, I'm not sure how good we're going to be this year, or, are we going to be around 500, maybe just squeak in as a wild card. But then they go out and they're in line to win the division again. And it's like, man, they just continue to exceed these expectations. And that's why I think that kind of feeds into me personally not taking it for granted, because they just keep doing this. They keep defying the odds. They keep going out there and just like proving everybody wrong. And I think that's what keeps me from not taking this all for granted. But I also feel like for the Brewers side of things, it's okay to want a little bit more than just making it to the postseason. It's okay to have higher goals, higher expectations. Because I guarantee you ask every person in that clubhouse, every person, every coach, every front office member, that's not the goal anymore, just to get to the postseason. That's not the expectation anymore. It's to win a championship. Some fans may not feel like that's the ultimate goal from ownership or whatever have you, but I guarantee you if you ask Matt Arnold, Pat Murphy, those players, that's their goal. Whether you believe they can or not, I fully believe they would tell you that is the goal at hand. And I think that's okay as fans to have that same goal and expectation too. It's great they've been in the postseason 7 of the last 8 years, considering that before this stretch, they went a total of 4 times since 1969. It's an amazing stretch. It's super impressive, the job that this franchise has done. But expectations and goals can change. And the more consistent you are at getting to the postseason, you've fallen a little bit short or not even winning a series, it's like, okay, been there. We've experienced this. Let's up the ante here a little bit more. We want a little bit more. We want higher goals. So I think you could say, no, haven't been taking this for granted, but I do want a little bit more success. I do want to see a championship now. Whether that happens this year or not, who the heck knows at this point. But I'll be curious when it's all said and done after this year, depending on what the Brewers do this year. And we get into, spring training March of next year, and you look at the last 2 years of the Pat Murphy era and the last 2 years of just surpassing expectations left and right and kicking the door off of all these preseason picks and records. Does that change? Does that start to change? Like, let's say the Brewers don't do anything in the offseason and they kind of run it back. Are you still going to have those fan graphs and those predictions hover around a 500 team? Or do they look back at the history? Because how many times, especially like when you get to those like preseason pick, I mean, it was a lot around the NFL, right? What was a very common pick for the Super Bowl? Chiefs, Lions, Eagles on there too, and Eagles are 2-0. But it's like, okay, I've seen this same show. I know this is a team that's always been there, so they're going to be there again. I don't know if that'll continue for the quote-unquote experts out there when they make their preseason picks when it comes to the Brewers. Let's talk some more baseball, though. All right, shall we? We'll take a quick break, and We'll be back with more after these quick words. When it comes to glass, Post Glass and Mirror in Chippewa Falls does it all, from replacing a cracked windshield to custom glass for your home or business. Their work is precise and built to last. They handle shower doors, mirrors, window repairs, and commercial glass projects with the same attention to detail every single time. The team is professional, friendly, and committed to getting the job done right. For quality glass work of any kind, Post Glass and Mirror is the place to call in Chippewa Falls. As we know, Brewers have the off day today before they begin a 3-game series against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Uh, 12 games left to go in this thing for the Brewers. And 2 games ahead with the Phillies for the top spot in the National League. They're holding on to that right now. 5.5 games ahead of the Cubs for first place in the NL Central. So, kind of a little bit different. 5.5 up on the Cubs, but essentially it's a 4.5 one right now because the Cubs hold the tiebreaker. However, Brewers hold the tiebreaker over the Phillies. So even though it's a 2-game lead, it's essentially like a 3-game lead at this point. So as we enter these final 2 weeks of the regular season, this is kind of where things are standing across Major League Baseball. We got 2 teams who have clinched playoff spots. Brewers were the first one, then the Phillies also clinched a playoff spot. So Brewers, first one to get it there. Attaboy. But when we look at it from an American League standpoint here, we'll start off with the American League and then go to the National League. You've got, excuse me, with the standings here: Toronto, Detroit, Seattle. Toronto winning 4 in a row. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games. They're the top spot right now in the American League. So Toronto, Detroit, Seattle, who is just on fire right now in Fuego, taking the division lead over the Houston Astros. They have won 9 in a row. Seattle has 9-1 in their last 10. I mean, they're on fire right now. So a little bit of a shakeup there, a little bit of a change in the American League standings. Wild card wise, it's the Yankees, it's Boston, it's Houston, and the Rangers are 2 back. Cleveland 2.5 back from a wild card spot. Those are probably the 2 teams still in. I mean, no offense to Kansas City, who's 6, and Tampa Bay, who is 7.5 back. But a little bit of a change at the top. And with the AL West race, it's still up in the air between Houston and Seattle. It could go back and forth here. Toronto, they're up a few games over both the Yankees and the Red Sox as well, but definitely something to pay attention to, and specifically too for the top record in the American League, and the Tigers maybe try to catch up to them. National League wise, you've got the Brewers and the Phillies, as we said, the first 2 teams to clinch playoff spots. Brewers, Phillies, Dodgers, but got a huge series between the Phillies and the Dodgers. And I mean, Dodgers, they're still probably feeling the Padres behind them right now. I mean, the Dodgers are sitting there at 84 and 65. You got the Padres 82 and 68. So they got to make up some ground here. Padres going to be going up against the Mets. You look at these 2 series. First off, Dodgers and Phillies. For the Dodgers to maybe try to climb up in the National League standings a little bit, but also create a little bit more of a gap within their division. And the Padres have the Mets. Mets are holding on to that final wild card spot, but just barely. Just barely. So you got a couple of really big-time National League series that could change how some of these standings are right now. Because the Dodgers are just holding on to a 2.5-game lead over the Padres. Padres are going to be the biggest Philly fans in the world. If you're a Brewers fan, you're probably hoping for the Dodgers just to push down the Phillies so they're not breathing down your neck in terms of that top National League spot. But then, if you're the Giants, who are just 1.5 back from a wild card spot, they're probably rooting for. You're probably rooting for the Padres as bad as that is, but if you want to try to get into that wild card chase, you're probably rooting for the Padres to, knock down the Mets so that you could jump in there. And then, for crying out loud, the Diamondbacks are just 2 games out from a wild card spot. And who the Diamondbacks play? The Giants. And then you've got the Reds, who are 2.5 back. They begin a series with the Cardinals, which I guess you technically can't count the Cardinals out because they're just 4 back from the wild card spot. So you look at these games, these matchups. This is like playoff baseball right now, this week. Padres trying to hold on into a wild card spot, maybe even trying to overtake the Dodgers for the lead in the West. They got a Mets team that's barely holding on to that final wild card spot. Dodgers taking on the Phillies. Giants and Diamondbacks. Giants 1.5 out. Diamondbacks 2 out. Reds and Cardinals. Reds 2.5 out. Cardinals 4 out. I mean, National League's got some really good games coming up here. And for Cleveland, want to go to the American League side of things? Who's just 2.5 back, big series with Detroit. Texas Rangers, 2 back, huge series against Houston. Houston's trying to get back into the division lead over Seattle, but Seattle's got Kansas City. You got some really good matchups coming down the wire here. So how many wins? Put on your prediction hats, people. How many wins for the Brewers? How many wins for the Brewers in these final 12 games? Looking at their schedule, we know they got the Angels coming up after today, after their off day. Okay, got the Angels. You got the Cardinals again. You've got the Padres, and you got the Reds. That final week is going to be real. I cannot wait to see what the final week of the regular season looks like for all these teams. And seeing where they're at in the position, what position they're at, and who they face. Because you look at that final week, you open it up. Let's say we're here a week from today when the Brewers open up their series on the road against the Padres. And the Brewers are still maybe up by 2 over the Phillies for first place and 4 or 5 against the Cubs in the division. We talked about being able to set up your rotation for the playoffs and that. There's a really good chance the Brewers are still in a win now mode, or got to win this week, got to win these games to get that division and maybe get that top spot in the National League too. What if the Brewers get into a situation where they go into that final weekend series against the Reds and the Brewers have the division locked up? They got it locked up at that time, but they're still fighting for that top spot. I'll be curious to see how much they kind of like go for it, how much they full throttle it. But does it come at the expense like, hey, we got to start Freddie for that series finale because we want to try to get that one, but that may mean he's not available for game 1 of the postseason. I'll be kind of curious to see how the Brewers approach it if they kind of get into that situation. Now, if they go to that Red Series where, they've got the division, because there's a very real chance they could just head into that Red Series starting on September 26th, next Friday, where they've got it all locked up. They've got a 3-game lead over the Phillies, but Brewers have the tiebreaker, so they'd have that. And then as long as they have a 3.5 game lead over the Cubs, won't be a half game, obviously, but they would have to have like a 4-game lead over the Cubs where they could just be take that series and get it set for their postseason run. But these next 2 weeks of baseball, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. It's going to be very stressful to watch. It's going to be crazy to watch. I mean, a lot of scoreboard watching, a ton of scoreboard watching. But I would say if you're a Brewers fan, you're probably rooting for the Dodgers to take a couple games at least from the Phillies, move them down a little bit in the pecking order. That's how I would look at it. Cubs-wise, if you're wondering about the Cubbies here, who they got coming up, they got the Pirates. So go Pirates. Then they got the Reds. Then the Mets. That could be a big series, and then they finish up with the Cardinals. Now you know that Cardinals would love nothing more than just to screw around with the Cubs at that point. But Brewers' magic number. So in case you're wondering, they already got they already got a playoff spot. So at worst, I think there are 5 based off of playoffstatus.com. To get the top one, the number 1 seed, it's 10. It looks like it's 10 games to get that top spot. And then it looks like it's 8 for the division. Again, reminder, that's combination of wins and losses. So it's going to be tight. It's going to come down to the wire. All right, we'll take a quick break, but how many wins? I'll give you my prediction in these final dozen games, final 12. How many wins? How many you got? What are you predicting for this Brewers team? Angels, Cardinals, Padres, Reds. What do you got? Let me know. Hit me up with a text, comment on the video streams. We'll be right back. Is it time to get your vehicle in for an oil change? Maybe it's time to get some new tires to prepare for the upcoming winter season. Maybe you just need some engine work done, or whatever the case may be. Make your appointment today with our good friends at AJM Automotive in Eau Claire. They also do small engine work as well. So maybe you got to get those snow blowers tuned up. I know you probably don't want to hear about it right now, but it's always good to be ready and prepared. It is Wisconsin, So make your appointment today by giving them a call at 715-835-9523. AJM Automotive, located 1919 Brackett Avenue in Eau Claire. Just got my oil change from there. Got some new tires on the truck, so we're ready. We're ready, baby. So Paul says about the Brewers, can they keep all their young talent? Well, I mean, one thing what's nice is maybe not for the players, they're probably not saying this, but like I'm thinking of the Bryce Terangs and the Sal Freliks of the world is arbitration. Arbitration, like the Brewers hold they've got control of these guys for a few years yet, under control from them. So it's not like Bryce Terang's going to hit free agency next year or anything like that. Now, arbitration, they will get pay raises based off their play on that, which is to be expected. But at least in terms of like free agency and control, like for example, Bryce Terang, he is not scheduled to be bringing it up here, an unrestricted free agent until like 2030. So, I mean, that's just an example there with the arbitration thing. So, plus their farm system. I mean, Jesus Mate, I know we talked a lot about him last week. That's a name to remember going forward, is Jesus Mate. But I think, at least for the next few years, yeah, they're going to be able to keep, if the young talent we're referring to is like the Terangs and the Freliks and that, yeah, I think they can. Brent says mid-May, I was like, maybe not the Brewers year, pretty mediocre feeling at that time, but now expectations are high for a postseason run. I don't want to even like kind of think about this, but I mean, it's hard not to. Say the Brewers go in, they get the top spot, they're the number 1 seed, they've won the division, but they lose their first round series. I'll be curious, because at the end of every season for these teams, there's always this question. Was it a successful season or not? And you're going to get debates, opinions on both sides. I've changed my opinions on that very question over the years. And I think a lot is it is a very case by case situation. But I was always and this is more specifically to the Aaron Rodgers era in Green Bay. Because I always had the thought of, as long as Aaron Rodgers is your starting quarterback, anything short of a Super Bowl is a failure. It's not a successful season because of the super high expectation. But I mean, isn't that the expectation when you have a quarterback like that? Should be multiple championships. It should be multiple champ. Now I've heard other arguments and I've heard other debates and that. So I've been a little bit more open to that and maybe kind of looking at it overall and different storylines or things that have transpired during the seasons and such. So I'm a little bit more open to that. But that is going to be, and I hate to even think this or put it out in the stratosphere or the universe atmosphere, whatever. And I hope beyond all hope the Brewers can have a deep postseason run. We're talking about World Series, but I guess to take it from a glass half full approach here, if somehow the Brewers get that top spot and it's a short stint into the postseason, I'm very curious to see how Brewers fans answer that question, because it was a season that began with a lot of unknowns. It was a season that began with, I don't know what to expect from this team. I don't have a lot of expectations from this team, and this team is, doesn't look like they're very good right now. But then they, let's say, finish off the regular season with the top spot, it's like how do you assess that season? Hopefully, again, we're talking about a World Series, and then we know the question, or we know the answer to that question. It's pretty darn simple at that point. But that's going to be a potentially interesting one if it were that case. Top spot. Didn't have a lot of expectations or hope for this team at the beginning of the year, but they get the top spot, but a shortfall in the postseason. I feel like it'd be a mixed bag of results. I feel like you're going to have a lot of people say, "Hey, I thought they were going to be below average, under 500." So the fact that they were the top team, they got to the postseason, it's a disappointing finish, but it's a successful season. I feel like that's the phrase we're going to hear a lot. Disappointing finish, but a successful season. And that's something I've been hearing a lot more over the last few years, kind of describing the Packers season. And I guess in my mindset too, the last couple of years for the Bucks, it's kind of the Aaron Rodgers one. Anything short of a championship is, I guess, in my opinion, a little bit of, and I know, and I get this goes back to the Giannis quote from a couple of years ago. Remember that after the postseason, he was knocked out, and was a season of failure in that, and he really took offense to it. And I think I've been more open to the question, how do you, I guess, more open to the follow-up question of what do you define as a successful season? If it's just straight up championships, well then yeah. But if you define it by more than just the hardware at the end, and I get it. For fans, that's pretty much all you care about, right? Is you want to see your team win a championship. So I don't know. That's going to be an interesting conversation when we get to it. For your not to get completely off topic, but this just keeps popping up, and I gotta throw this out there because this is just ridiculous. Raise your hand if you thought the Colts were going to stink this year. Okay, I did. All right, I did. I think a lot of people did. Now I don't know how they're going to finish this thing, but this is a crazy nugget. The Colts are the first team in a Super Bowl era to not punt in either of their first two games in a season. The Colts have not punted a single time yet in their first two games. And their biggest fan in the world is probably loving it. And he was a punter. And McAfee. They have not punted once. Unreal. All right, we got to take our final break for this hour. Then coming up in the happy hour, we'll get JC and EC, Justice Cleveland, sports director extraordinaire. We'll do some local sports roundup with him. Plus, get back to some more Brewers, Packers, Badgers, all that fun stuff. Don't forget, it is also I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Fill in the blanks. I'm not saying blank, but I'm just saying blank. All right, I'll reveal mine coming up after this. At Toyson Ford, they're more than just a dealership. They're your hometown team. Whether you're looking for a new Ford, quality pre-owned vehicle, or dependable service you can count on, Toyson Ford is there for you every step of the way. No pressure, no gimmicks, just honest deals and friendly faces. Stop by Toyson Ford in Chippewa Falls and experience the difference today. Again, coming up next hour, we'll do some local sports roundup brought to you by our friends Carpet City Flooring Center with Mr. Justice Cleveland, sports director extraordinaire for WEAU 13 News here in Eau Claire. But let's wrap up this third hour with a little I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. So fill in the blanks, and reminder, all of you can participate as well. I'm not saying blank, but I'm just saying blank. Okay. You can hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. Or you can comment on the video streams like at YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, or Facebook. All right. I'm not saying that the Brewers are going to hit 100 wins this year. But I'm just saying, I still think they're going to break their franchise record. So their franchise record is 96. They're at 91 right now. They would have to go 5-7, at least 5-7 to tie it. They'd have to go 500 to surpass it, 6-6. So I'm not saying the Brewers are going to hit 100 wins this year. I'm off that wagon now. I'm off that one. But I'm just saying that I think they will break a franchise record for wins this year. I've been asking all morning for some win predictions, and a lot of you hovering around 99, 98, did get a couple hundreds in there. But that's kind of where you're at. And I got to go with the majority of you. I think they take 2 out of 3 against the Angels to get to 93. I think they take the Cardinals one is, to me, the tricky one here. I would love it if they take 3, sweep the whole Angel series. I'll go 2 out of 3 against the Angels to get to 93. And then you got to find 4 wins in there between Cardinals, Padres, Reds. And I think they do that. I mean, that's 9 games. 4 wins out of 9 games. I think they do that. Now, if somehow they go 2, 4, 6, 8, if they would win every series by taking 2 out of 3, they would hit that 99 win mark. And that one's a tough pill for me to swallow. That one I can't do. So a lot of people had 99. I'm 99, 100, 90, 98. I think they do 97. I think they get it by 1. That's my prediction. They're going to get it. So I'm not saying they're going to get 100 like I did before, but I'm just saying they still will break their franchise record with wins. I do think it'll be enough. I do think the Brewers will finish this thing still in first place in the National League. It is getting a little bit uncomfortable with the lead that they have right now. It is getting a little uncomfortable. But I think they will be able to hold on. Just, Phillies, they've got the Dodgers. Diamondbacks are still in this thing too. They're just a couple games back, and it's going to be in Arizona. I think this week is going to be a big tell of where everything is at. Need the Dodgers to help out the Brewers here for a hot minute. You need the Diamondbacks to help them out too. Although that would also mean the Diamondbacks potentially getting in the postseason, and maybe some Brewers fans don't want to face the Diamondbacks just from years previous and such. I don't know, but kind of where I'm at right now. A lot of scoreboard watching for the next couple of weeks here. There's no question about it. And, we'll find out more about, I think, for the Brewers, Jose Quintana. Like, how much does this change potentially what the Brewers' rotation is going to look like, not only just down the stretch here, but potentially for the postseason? For a 3-game starter, for 3 games, I think we all know how it was going to play out. And hopefully the Brewers are able to set that rotation how they want to. And they get a little extra time if they'll get the top spot, obviously. So I feel like that's going to happen. If they get the bye, they're going to be able to set that rotation how they want. But assuming it is Freddie, Woodruff, and Priester, if Quintana's going to be missing some time, does that open the door? I would assume that opens the door for the Miz. But if the Brewers are like, or maybe we're not comfortable with that yet, we're gonna have him coming out of the pen, then who do you do? I don't know who else you do. I mean, it'd be no different than like, does Chad Patrick deserve it more than Mizorowski at that point? I don't think so. So, if you missed our conversation on Friday with Dominic Cotarino from the Brewers Radio Network, go ahead and listen to it. It's up on our podcast. But I had asked him about who do you think in this final couple weeks here is a key player, is a player that he's going to be kind of watching, and just to kind of see how he's trending going into the postseason and such. And he mentioned Brandon Woodruff. And he talked about him a little bit here. And I think that's such an interesting name to kind of throw out there. Because obviously with his comeback and such this year, but this year he's 6-2 with a 3.32 ERA. But you look at his last few games here. So we saw him against Pittsburgh back in the 6 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs. Before that, Toronto, 4 1/3, 5 earned runs. Before that, Arizona, 5 earned runs. Before that, the Cubs, 3 earned runs. And then Pittsburgh, 4 innings, no earned runs. So against playoff teams, at least just recently for Woodruff, if you look at it for playoff caliber teams, Woody has struggled just a bit. Toronto, he gave up those 5 earned runs. Arizona, who's 2 games back, but they're in the hunt, 5 earned runs. Cubs, 3. But piggybacked with, or I should say piggyback, but Pittsburgh at the beginning and the end, he was good against. But what about some potential playoff teams? Now, I'm not trying to pull a panic button or anything like that for Woodruff. I just think, that's probably why we want to see Woodruff go into this thing, and when he's going up against, in the playoffs, hopefully he's got the right stuff going at that point in time. All right. One more hour to go here. We'll do some local sports roundup with Mr. JC and the EC. That's coming up here after the top of the hour. We'll get back to some more football talk and some more Brewers talk as well. But continue to send me your predictions. Again, a lot of you saying Brewers will end the season with, I think the number that is getting the majority of picks right now is 99. That's not going to go through everybody's pick. Just kind of looking through the texting line here, and it's 99. It's 99. So. All right. Yeah, there we go. There's a shot clock. Shot clock's cutting off. One more to go. Get your thoughts in. Hit us up with the text 715-830-1912. Quick break, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes. All right, the final hour on this Monday morning coming at you. Again, big thanks for tuning in wherever, however you are tuning in from. Got those radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available to stream online at our website, sportstalk1051.com. Video streams also up and rolling at YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and just tell your Alexa devices to say, "Yo, Alexa, play WAYY." We're going to get back to some more Brewers talk coming up a little bit later on. Brewers have the off day today, but we just got 12 games left to go. What is your prediction? How many wins do you think the Brewers have in them in these final 12? And what do you think that record's got to be for the Brewers to pull off and maybe get that top spot in the National League and hold home field throughout? You can send us your predictions. Again, text it or hit us up on the video streams. We'll probably throw a little football talk here. We're taking your thoughts on the state of the NFC North. And I want opinions from if you're a Packers fan or a Lions fan or a Bears fan or a Vikings fan. I want opinions from everybody. What is your thoughts on the state of the NFC North? Before all that, though, let's introduce our buddy, Mr. JC Anisi, Justice Cleveland. How you doing, sir?
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. You ready? Feeling? I mean, it doesn't even feel like fall right now with probably the temps out there. I hear the lawnmowers are going on out there. So
yeah, mine will be going soon too. Yeah, I don't. It's crazy how we had those 50s, a week and a half ago, and now we're going to be in the 80s most this week, and then I think we dropped down a little bit towards Friday.
Yeah,
maybe some rain again.
Right.
Friday was a lot of fun with the thunderstorms that rolled through just at a perfect time to make everything start a little bit late and make everything a little bit damp the whole night. But we got through it and the games got done. So that's the big key.
Yeah. Let's lead off there with some local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center. Going to the Friday night football first half, as you said, some were a little bit delayed in that, but North picked up their first win of the season against Superior. So got one in the win column.
Yeah, and now you just try to keep the roll. You got the inner city matchup coming up here, so a chance. Memorial's a tough team, and that should be a really fun game. I mean, they're both the records don't show how good these teams can play, and I think they both, coming together, that'll be a good battle to see what these two teams are going to bring. A lot. I mean, it's going to be so far the biggest game for both these teams of the year, and so I think, and if you're North, if you can keep rolling to get some wins, the playoffs would still be a possibility here. So that would be huge for them. But starts this week with them taking on Memorial. Memorial just trying to keep some momentum themselves too. So that'll be a good matchup this weekend.
Because Memorial fell to Marshfield this last Friday, correct? So yeah, they're looking for their first win, I believe, too.
Yeah,
so,
and they're offensively, and I mean, they show it in spurts, and I think if it all came together, they can get victory. They played tough against Hudson, and we're in that game for the first half. They're right there knocking on the door. I think if they can just get a little more consistency, they could get that win. And they obviously, if they can get that first win against North, they would love that.
Yeah, no kidding. How about Rice Lake over Menominee? Kind of an impressive win for Rice Lake over Menominee.
And that now sets up a three-way tie atop the Big River standings right now. Hudson, Rice Lake, and River Falls all 4-0. Hudson with a big upset. I don't know if it's upset, but a big win against New Richmond.
Yeah.
And now falls to 3-1 and was fourth ranked, I believe, in the state.
Man,
coming into that game. So yeah, right now that conference is looking tough. And I mean, Rice Lake, they had their back against the wall against Menominee until the second half, and then they just kicked it in. And yeah, that team is it's amazing what Dan Hill has done with that team, and they just keep finding ways to keep being successful, and we're seeing it again this year.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Hudson with the win over New Richmond. River Falls took down Chippewa Falls on Friday night too.
I want to give a big shout out to Chi High. They had their Veterans Appreciation Night, and they do such a great job with that, and really a special thing to be a part of and watch as all the veterans that came out and braved the elements. It was raining the whole time, but that didn't stop them. And then yeah, Chi High just does so much to give back for the homeless vets. That's what the big fundraiser is, and they do their Miracle Minute where they pass around the bucket and raise as much money as they can. So a big shout out to Chippewa Falls for, I mean, this is the 13th or 14th year they've done it, and it just keeps growing. And talking to Mike Thompson over there. He's got bigger plans for next year as well. So, and kudos to him. I mean, when Mother Nature throws you a curveball like that, he's just running around trying to keep things organized, knowing that things are being delayed if they have to evacuate the stadium, if lightning, so just, they wish they would have got the win, but still, I think what they did for the vets is a big win.
Absolutely. I saw the jerseys they were wearing too.
Yeah, I mean, the USA ones, the camo, it's really just really cool. And, we got another one coming up at Altoona. It's having their veteran appreciation on Friday as well. So anytime you can get to one of those games and give back, not only giving back to the athletes by cheering them, but you're giving back to the veterans by helping out those charities.
Exactly. Yeah. I know Brandon was talking a little bit about it on Friday too. And he was explaining all the different, like just every year, how it's gotten bigger and bigger and better. So it's awesome to see.
Roxy Rankovich singing God Bless the USA in the national anthem. My goodness, what a voice. And just really just a special moment.
Absolutely. You mentioned Altoona. They picked up a win over Prescott too. So, I mean, not a bad start to the season for Altoona football either.
And that's good. Chad Hansen's team. And that to me is, they can keep this rolling here. And it's they're going to be battling for a playoff spot. And if they can just keep, they got a matchup at home this week. And so that, it's one of those things where we're now at that point where we get to week 5 and teams, it's starting to be make or break time if you want to make that playoff run.
Regis remains undefeated. They picked up another win as well. Mondovi is also undefeated. They picked up a win. Fall Creek picked up a win over Stanley Boyd. So
Fall Creek had 2-2. So again, very much like Altoona, they're going to be battling. You see around 500 at this point. It's those final 5 games are going to be big. And
Boysville still undefeated too.
Yeah.
So
you got Regis Durand, Arkansas on Thursday. So a battle of 2 of the top 3 teams in the Clover Belt there. So that should be and there's a lot of families that know each other, and we get to these games, and it gets to be a lot of fun when we get to this point in the season.
And then I know 8-player football too. We got quite the matchup.
The biggest one of the year. We got number 1 versus number 2. Gilman hosting McDonell. That should be just a lot of fun. These 2 teams that both have state title aspirations and well-deserved state title aspirations, meeting here in the regular season. I mean, as far as regular season games go, to me, that may be the biggest one. I mean, there's some big ones, but going 8-player, there's none bigger than that. When you get 1 and 2 matching up regular season at Gilman, and it brings you back to the old days when they were both 11-player football matching up against each other every once in a while too. So this should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. I got to imagine maybe Brandon's probably going to go that way when he does his poll question which game, but it's like maybe an early preview of a state title game.
If they can, it depends on how they get. They might both be on the same side.
Right.
But I was talking with Brandon. Was like, at least let's hope this make the way they get seeded. If possible, it could be a state semifinal game. It would be great if it somehow ended up being the state title game too.
Yeah.
But to get a little preview of 2 of the best playing, it's going to be fun.
Yeah,
I know I've been saying that a lot about a lot of these games, but it really is that's what it's all about in prep football is going out there and seeing some great matchups like this.
So since we're heading into week 5, could teams potentially, like, I don't know if clinch is the right word, but like
become playoff eligible.
Playoff. Okay.
Because I think most of them play a 9-game schedule. So if you're 5-0.
So those teams who are undefeated, there's a potential that they could.
I know a lot of it, there's conference records that go into it and stuff like that. But usually if you get to 5 wins, there's a good chance you're getting into the playoffs. Because usually it slips down to where there's a team that gets in. Some teams that get in with a sub 500 record. Again, that all is about the balance and the amount of teams that get in for lower divisions and the upper division. So there's a lot of things that go into the seeding of this. But if you can get to 5 wins, that usually gives you a good shot of getting in the playoffs.
We also got, I know volleyball is continuing to roll along here too.
Yes, indeed. I mean, got some big match. I know Regis and McDonell will be matching up there in the Clover Belt coming up soon. And we had some big cross country over the weekend at Menominee. They had their meet. Lauren McCullough set a course record, battling the Hartmans from Bloomer. And there's another big meet up at UW Barron County.
I remember.
Or is it UW Eau Claire Barron?
It's still UW Barron County for me because that's where I went. And I remember this is the time because I remember they have, I can the lines all over campus when I was a student there. I can picture them
Yep.
right now.
Though the
So,
course there meet, I've
yep.
been there a few times. It's a great meet. So they have that. I believe that's tomorrow.
Okay.
So it's another big, just a ton of teams that'll be out at that one. I know Bloomer will be there, Menominee will be there. So that should be another big matchup there. As we're getting closer and closer here, as we get closer to October, we get closer to the postseason starting out for some of these sports. So
golf, I got to imagine too.
Yeah, golf will be soon.
Yeah.
I mean, because their tournament, I think, is like the 12th of October or something like that. It's
okay.
It's not an approximate. That's throwing a dartboard at a calendar. But yeah, we're a couple, 3-4 weeks away from that. So they'll be wrapping up conference play here soon. We've seen the Kongshogs doing some Kongshog stuff there with some great performances for Colfax, Elk Mound, and they have a conference meet coming up today as well. So that's at I believe it's over at Whitetail and Colfax where they were playing. They've been lucky enough to have two home matches there in the last week. But yeah, again, it's getting to that point where it's you start thinking about the postseason.
Soccer, I know, is rolling along here too. Tennis, I mean, it's just kind of in the thick of everything.
Yeah, we are really. And then now we've got the WIAC sports kicking into full gear as well.
How about Blue Gold football starting off the season 2-0, going all the way to Ohio to take on Kenyon College this past weekend, and I think an impressive performance offensively and holding them to just 6 points defensively. So I mean, beginning the season 2-0.
It's a rinse and repeat from the first game, and that's what you would like to see, the consistency, because you never know the first game. Other team might have been off or something like that, but they come out, make a very long road trip to middle of Ohio. Some would say the middle of nowhere. I'm not saying that, but yeah, basically, you're going to a small town. The accommodations not great, and they to make that trip, and that's what Rob Erickson said. It's like, how's this team going to bounce back after a long road trip like that? And they came out on fire. Yeah, and now 2-0, first time since 2021, and that's awesome to see. And now see if they can keep that momentum going here, and it would be great for that team to get in the conference play undefeated,
because they got Martin Luther coming up this weekend at Carson Park. So I mean, kind of have to wonder, there's a potential to start off maybe 3-0. I know Martin Luther though is 2-0 to begin the season, and they played Lawrence University, they won 33-14. Luther College, they blanked 34-0. So it'll be a good test.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of unknowns with both these teams facing each other, and two teams coming off big wins. So should be. I mean, if you're the Blue Golds, you got the advantage. You're back at home. Yep. And it should be. I mean, it looks like it's gonna be gorgeous this weekend for football too. So but yeah, I mean, great start for them. A tough loss for Stout. Yeah. Against Wartburg. They stayed in it the whole game. Was it 16-9 or something?
16. 16-0.
16-0.
Yeah. But that's a top 10 team, Wartburg.
Yep. They just couldn't get anything going on offense, and then they kept Wartburg, basically, shut them down to 16 points. Right. So I think that Stout team still a lot of potential there, and I think as much as it's a loss and it's a tough loss, you got to take the positives out. We were battling with one of the best in the nation, so you've got a chance to do, once you get in the conference play, that's what you're doing, right? Week in and week out,
right? Exactly. So, and now they've got University of Northwestern Minnesota coming up, and remember too, Blue Golds and Stout
open it up,
yeah, and it's going to be Eau Claire's homecoming. So
the 100th.
Yep. So this is setting up, I think, for being a really entertaining WIAC.
I think so. I think lacrosse came out and just blew the doors off their opponent. So them getting a good start. River Falls has been really good as a late, and then you run it down, Oshkosh, Platteville, Whitewater. Throw Stevens Point in there.
Yep. So maybe not.
Hey,
come on now.
Come on. They're trying. Okay,
they're trying. So Blue Golds wise, staying with them really quick too, because I know for volleyball, we had the Sandy Schumacher tournament this past weekend too. So for Blue Gold volleyball, and I mean, they're just continuing to roll around, and I mean, their win streak going up for volleyball. I mean, this is a program you and I have talked about. I think there's some big time goals for this squad this year.
And I think if you look at the WIC in a whole, just like football, you've got 3-4 top 20 teams in there. I mean, the Blue Golds were like 16th, I think, coming into this week. They'll move up after the way they performed this weekend. And they got Platteville, I believe, is it, like, coming up for the conference opener?
Let me double check
I'm trying
that
to.
here for you.
My memory is trying. I know.
I'm putting you to the test this
Let's
morning,
see.
man.
Is it Whitewater or Platteville?
It is going to be loading up right now.
Best radio is us looking up something.
Whitewater.
Whitewater. I see. I changed it. I'm
Yep.
good. It's
And
like
that's number 2 Whitewater.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, just a huge matchup there for conference play.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness. I mean, that's the way you want to start it out, is being tested. I mean, it's very similar to the way Wisconsin volleyball plays, and just playing all these top 25 teams to start out the season in non-conference, and Blue Gold's doing the same thing. So that will be a big test.
I mean, this weekend, St. Catherine University, they beat them 3-0. Lakeland 3-0. Carleton College 3-0. I mean, they're 10-1 on the season so far.
Haven't dropped many sets this year. And it's been a great start there. And yeah, I think they can keep that going. Conference, again, it's just going to be a monster. Because I think Stevens Point, Platteville, there's a bunch of ranked teams, and Oshkosh you could throw. I mean, everybody you name in the conference.
Oshkosh is currently ranked 6th right now. So Platteville 13th. Point is receiving votes. So I mean,
that's pretty much your whole conference.
And
just getting half of your conference is getting votes are in the top 25.
Even like their Hope College tournament that they're going to in October, Coe College receiving votes. They play Millikin University 17, Hope College number
Millikin
30.
University, home of Jeff Query.
Is it really?
Packers wide receiving great.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Look at you.
I had a football card when I was a kid, so I just always like, where's Millikin?
Nice. Well, yeah, they get even the rest of their schedule. It's a ton of ranked opponents on here, so that'll set up nicely. You would think for the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean they're going to be so well tested. There isn't a test on that schedule, honestly, for the rest of the year. So I think they're going to have to bring it every game, and that just bodes well. Get towards tournament time if they can find some success.
Absolutely. All right, that's your local sports roundup, brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center. Let's take a quick break. I want to talk a little more Brewers. We'll talk. We'll throw a little football chat in here as well. Stick around. We'll be back after these quick words. We've got Justice Cleveland, sports director, WEAU 13 News, joining us here this morning. So let's jump right into some baseball talk here as the Brewers over the weekend clinching playoff spot, became the first team to clinch a playoff spot. Phillies have also clinched a playoff spot here as well. But those are the only two teams so far that have spots secured in the postseason. Still lots to play for here. Brewers and Phillies kind of battling it out for that top spot in the National League. Brewers holding on to a 2-game lead, but they have the tiebreaker against the Phillies, so it's kind of a 3-game lead. But on the flip side, the Brewers are up 5.5 on the Cubs for the division, but the Cubs have the tiebreaker for that, so it's like a 4.5-game lead here.
And they got the Pirates.
And they got the Pirates too.
So don't slip here because this could.
Yep.
It could still get closer than we want it to be. It's still closer than I think anybody wants. Like the Cubs just won't go away right now.
Yep, they won't go away. The Phillies. I mean, I know as we had a listener point out, he's like, well, the top two still get the buys, and you're right. I think for me though, I'd still like the one just to have that comfort of AmFam Field throughout the postseason,
right?
In case it is Brewers and Phillies, I'd rather have that be at home than on the road. But it is going to be interesting to see how this week goes along because you've got Phillies Dodgers now going against each other.
Yep.
And then after that, it's the Diamondbacks, who are just 2 games out from a wild card spot. So there could be some shuffling around there. Then I feel like next week's Brewers have the Padres, who are battling it out to try to get the NL West. And then who knows about the Reds at that point? They're just I think 2.5 back from a wild card spot here. This is, first of all, let's kind of back up here a little bit. So 91 wins so far. They're in the postseason again, the 7th time in the last 8 years. Before that, they went a total of 4 times since 1969.
Right.
Do you think we're taking this success for granted? Or, because that's kind of been thrown out there. Like I viewed it just, I can't speak for everybody, but me personally, I don't feel like I am, because I think part of it is we go into these years not knowing what to expect.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of keeps it humble. Like for this year's the perfect example. If you thought September 15th, the Brewers would have the best record in Major League Baseball, you're lying to yourself.
Right. Oh, especially after the start of the season.
Right. And I feel like that's kind of kept me humble. Like, no, I still appreciate the heck out of this because they keep surprising us every year. Now, I think if you said, but I want more, I think that expectation, you can have that. Like, okay,
right.
Yeah, it's great. They're going back, but we want a little bit more now too.
You need what you're looking for. I mean, I have a lot of trepidation, which means I'm not taking this for granted because I just don't. I'm not secure in knowing that this team, what they can do in the postseason.
Right.
But I'm not. I would never be like, okay, well, they're here again. Oh, great.
Right.
But I think that starts to happen. I think we saw the example I think it was the Braves in the 90s and early 2000s. They made such a run every year into the playoffs, and when you only have limited success,
right,
people start to towards the end. It was like, oh well, they're there again, but are they going to win a World Series?
Right.
I don't know if I'm going to ever think of that the Brewers, because the Brewers are perpetual underdogs in this sport. Those Braves teams were not underdogs. Those Braves teams had 3 Cy Young winners most of the time on staff there.
Right.
So to me, this Brewers team is just one of those. It's just an unknown every year, like you said, and I think that's what makes it interesting to watch. I mean, still going into the playoffs, there's no part of me that's like, this is a team that's guaranteed to make it to the World Series. There's nothing about right now, because of just the inconsistencies of maybe the last month,
right,
where we're starting to see maybe this is more what this team is a scrappy team that can battle back, and which they did during their winning streaks and actually got those victories. And we saw it again on Friday. But how many times in the postseason can you put yourself in those situations and expect to come back and win? So that's where I'm at. Yeah. I'm a mess. I'm a Brewer fan. I really want to see this team succeed, but I'm also really nervous that do they have everything they need to succeed?
Did you, by chance, hear Murphy after the letter he read from Euchre?
I heard him read the letter.
Yeah. I mean, that was like, that will get you going there a little bit.
Oh, exactly.
It's
such a likable team. It really is. Everybody in that locker room, and Pat Murphy is just, I love his demeanor as a manager because there's never too high, too low. I think that's what you need.
Yep.
The Billy Martin days, I don't think are happening anymore. Where you
Right.
just got this guy. There's no tyrants.
Mm-hmm.
It's big. If you got to do this for 162 plus games, you have to have an even keel.
Yep.
You don't want to be too low where you're not doing anything, but you don't want to get too high where you're annoying people and they start rebelling. So
yep.
I think he's just got that perfect demeanor, and the locker room just embraces him. And you can see him just sitting on the bench when he's just chatting away with guys, and just his dry sense of humor where you don't know if it's coming out or not.
Right. And you mentioned that, and I go back, this was a couple months ago. He was on a podcast with Mike Moustakas and Eric Hammer.
Yes.
Did the clip where like Moustakas was talking about when he first got traded to the Brewers, and it was like his first game. And Pat Murphy was the one telling the story. And it's like his first game, first at bat, Moustakas like grounds out or something like that. And he comes back to the dugout apologizing. It's like, I'm a better hitter than this. And Pat's like, no, you're good. Second time he goes up, Moustakas grounds out. Pat's like, that ain't going to cut it. It just kind of keeps. Third time, kind of the same thing. He's like, we didn't trade for you to get this type. And he's not even the manager. He's the bench coach, right?
Exactly.
And apparently like counsel had to tell him, Murph, knock it off. He doesn't know you yet, sort of thing. But now they can go back and laugh at. But stories like that,
he's so dry.
Mm-hmm.
Like he'd be one of those guys that would intimidate. Like I could just be intimidated easily by him.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Where I would I don't know where he's coming from.
Yep.
And then the second he's like grabbing you by the shoulder and like, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
And I love those guys, especially in a leadership position, because that just keeps the team loose.
Yep.
Especially when once you get to know him, like, and he's like, his curmudgeon kind of almost feels like a word to go with it, but in a good way. Like he's intimidating just to, like you mentioned, look at, because sometimes when you see him and he looks like he's ready to like explode just with the chin, like that strong jawline. And I mean, he's got tattoos on his forearms already. And it's like, okay, I don't know if I want to meet him in the back alley. But it's really, I think he's just the perfect fit for this team. And to get back to it, I mean, maybe that's, if you can get that 1 seed, you're not playing for your life to start the playoffs. You get a little bit of a cushion to relax a bit. Maybe that's what the Packers, that's what the Brewers need. And I really hope they can hold off and get this 1 seed.
I do too. And again, I know the 2 gets the bye too, but maybe I'm looking a little too far ahead. I'd rather have that home field.
Yeah. Especially the way you were playing and how, you built that big lead.
I just feel like home, the whole euchre energy, to have that home field throughout, that you just wonder how.
Is there 12 games left now?
12 for the Brewers, yeah.
You were talking about the prediction for their win total. I'll say 98.
Okay.
That's 7-5.
7-5, yep.
Yeah. I hope they can get to 100. It's been these games have been really, really tough lately for them. Now you got the Angels. But that's the thing. You don't want to look past anybody right now. You can't afford to.
And it's such a wild card heading into that final weekend, because there's a chance that final home series against the Reds, they could just have everything locked up.
Right.
And yes, they'll have the bye. So how much time do you want to give off? But at the same time, it is a very long season with some of these, minor injuries. They may elect, hey, take a couple days off.
I think more of the position players. I think with the pitchers, you want to just keep them in their rhythm.
Yep. But maybe throw them a couple innings instead of like going deep into those games or something.
Because you
like
just don't want them to be, okay, hey, you haven't pitched in a week and a half. Now go out there. I think if you can give them a couple innings, keep them in that rhythm, keep their arm stretched out, then you're doing good. We also don't want to tax your bullpen right before the playoffs, because we've seen a lot of series where, the starter goes 3 innings and guys are quick with the hook. I don't know if last year didn't seem as much, but there was a few years ago where it was like if the starter was struggling in the 3rd inning, they were done.
Right.
And especially those Brewers teams that weren't really, when they were using the openers and all that. So it's going to be a tough position to be in, especially if you have it all locked up.
I agree. So off day today, but again, there's some really good games and really good series started up. Phillies at the Dodgers, Giants and Diamondbacks, who are now just 2 games apiece, 2.5 out of a wild card spot. Heck, Reds and Cardinals. Cardinals are only like 4.5 out. Don't discredit them yet either.
No.
So
and they got the Cardinals again. The Brewers do at the end at Busch, which has always been a tough place for the Brewers to play.
Yep. So this is a big week of games if you're doing some scoreboard watching here.
Yeah.
And kind of with that Angels series too, an opportunity for the Brewers to hopefully gain some more ground.
Yeah, especially I mean with the Cubs and the Pirates,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you don't want to lose any more ground after the series over. If you can take 2 of 3,
Yep.
most you could lose. You know, is a 4-game series with the Cubs Pirates since it's
I
starting on a
think
Monday.
or no, I think it's still 3 because they're 5.5. So there's got to be a
Oh, there's got to be a game off day. Well,
yeah.
yeah, today because they play today.
Mm-hmm.
So if they win, they'd cut it down to 5.
Right.
So
And then they'd be on the even path.
yep.
So all right.
All the math. Get the calculators out for the
So one thing
the magic numbers.
Yeah, right.
Well, the tough thing now, there's so many different magic numbers. It's like you got your division.
Yep.
You got are you in the playoff magic number?
Yep.
Are you the number 1 seed magic number?
2 seed, 3 seed.
Wild, yeah.
It's all over the place right now. It's just I think it's still 10 for that top seed. And again, remember that's a combination of wins and losses. So so the NL Central, this is from me yesterday. Thank you to the Twitter account Brewers Magic Number. So this was posted yesterday. So the Central's 8, NL 1 seed, and the Major League Baseball 1 seed is 11, but I think that switched to 10. So yeah, I think that was afterwards. So
it could all work out by the end of next week.
mm-hmm.
But
I think that's actually I'll go to the website that I was actually using earlier, Baseball Magic Number, because there's actually a website dedicated to it. But
would you? I'm happy that we're not like 2 divisions and 2 teams getting in. I still liked the 1 wild card.
Mm-hmm.
To me, they just made everything so much easier. Then you don't have the buys, but I guess now you can reward teams for actually being the top team in your division and league.
Right.
So I can see both sides of it, but still took me a time to adjust when they added another wild card. Like, oh yeah, they're also still alive for that.
Yeah.
But that's money. That's a lot of money for the league when you get these extra playoff games.
Then on the flip side, it's like, well, then Brewers wouldn't have made the postseason some of those years.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. No, I always think when we go back to that, it was the 93 Brewers or 92 Brewers where they lot Toronto, just edged them, and where the next couple of years they would have been in easily. Or football-wise, the 89 Packers winning 10 games and not making the playoffs, but the next year when they expanded would have been in the playoffs. So it's always tough when you have those situations.
So according to playoffstatus.com, Brewers are magic number for that top spot is 10 for the 1 seed, 8 for 2 and 3, 4 for that 4th seed. They've already minimum 5 right now. Do
you just start popping champagne every time you move up a seed?
I like what the Brewers did, though. Like, it was just a casual toast.
Yeah.
It wasn't the goggles and spraying and all that, because they still got a lot to play for.
Right. It's not.
But acknowledge what you've done so far.
Take care of business kind of thing. Like, hey, we've done this, and we've done this before. We've been there. Now it's time to just move it up from there.
Yep. I agree. All right. Let's take a quick break, and let's chat a little football coming up here. Not quite 2 weeks in, but for the NFC North, we're 2 weeks in. Let's do a little bit of a look around of the NFC North coming up after this. 2 Monday Night Football games tonight. If you're still in the football mood, we've got the Buccaneers and Texans, and of course Chargers and Raiders. Then week 2 officially be in the books, but week 2 is in the books for our NFC North division. Packers on top, 2-0 after their win Thursday night, and with the Vikings losing last night to the Falcons. So Lions dropping over 50 against Ben Johnson and his Chicago Bears. It's getting a lot of love Packers-wise from national peeps, especially after yesterday, after the Phillies took down the Chiefs, and everybody's like, it's clear it's NFC is just Philly and Green Bay. I don't think I'm ready to go there yet after 2 weeks. But if we did just base it off of 2 weeks, I could see why people would say that.
Well, you win both games going away, basically, score 28 points against both two of the top teams from last year in the NFC.
And your defense has kind of been the talk of both of those games. I mean, just with the pressure and all that. And I know our buddy Surveyor Sam asked this question earlier, kind of talking about the national talk around Green Bay right now. Is that because of how well that let me bring up the question here. So Surveyor said, and I think it's a good question. Recently, the national media coverage for the Packers has been nothing but positive, which is justified because they are playing well. But is the coverage and the aura around the team due to them playing really well, or is it just Micah Parsons? I'm just not used to all the positive talk around the team. Normally, that's reserved for the Chiefs. And I didn't mean to cop out, but I do think it's a little bit of both. I think it's Micah coming in, providing that aura swag, but they've also played really well since he's been there. And I think that's part of it, like that energizer boost or whatever you want to call it. So I think it's actually a little bit of both.
I agree. I think if they're 2-0 and Micah Parsons, that doesn't happen, they're not getting as much talk in the national media because this just gave a lot more eyes were put on the Packers because of that move. So but I mean, they're also playing very, very well and beat two of the best teams from last year in the conference. So you can't ignore that part either. So yeah, like you said, it's a little bit of both, but obviously the Micah thing is just, it's a different factor. It was the same thing with Reggie White. Reggie White coming to the Packers and those teams turned eyes onto the team that wouldn't have been watching because now you have arguably one of the best, if not the best defensive player in the league on your team. You can't ignore that.
Right. I think it was Peter Schrager, I think even said Friday, or was it this weekend or something on ESPN, and said there has not been another team in the NFL that's had a better 2 weeks than Green Bay right now.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, and I think part of it too is when you add in just how well that defense has played and Parsons is on a snap count, he hasn't been fully unleashed. I think it's a lot of it is just like we knew the defense was going to be better or good. I just think there was a lot of people that didn't expect it right away.
Yeah.
In the first 2 weeks, especially against two offenses that people still have in high regard.
Yeah, and I haven't seen those offenses find clues of really how to combat the Packers defense right now. Both teams, I mean, you thought maybe it would be different with Jane Daniels coming in. A mobile quarterback, very different than Goff when it comes to that.
Right, yep.
And you'd think maybe he would be able to keep plays alive a little better, but the fearlessness and ferociousness that the defense was after him makes you say, okay, this might be for real here.
Yeah.
And you can't deny when you can't outrun Micah Parsons.
No.
That's the thing. You can, but it's not many people are going to do it.
No. And I mean, not to look too far ahead, but you got Cleveland now coming up who are probably desperate for a win. But I mean, you got Joe Flacco, who is not mobile.
No.
And I saw the quarterback that has the most attempts in the National Football League right now through the first 2 weeks is Joe Flacco. So if you're the Packers,
is that what you've had that in your book last year?
No,
at this point?
Nope, not at all. So, but if you're the Packers defense who is feeding off this, you're probably like, oh yeah, here we go.
Right.
Statue back there essentially. So one thing I am worried about is the Zach Tom injury. I know Tom Silverstein said, there is a little bit of concern. Apparently it's a torn oblique muscle somewhere in there. And you got Myles Garrett coming up this weekend. And I would have to imagine if it's Anthony Belton, the rookie, getting the right tackle, Jim Schwartz and the Browns would be stupid not to just say, Myles Garrett, stay on that side.
Yeah.
Just go on that
side.
I
mean, you arguably have two of the top now defensive guys meeting up here with Myles Garrett. Remember the talk about Myles Garrett was last year about his, potential being traded. So it's kind of the same thing where you have these guys that are just monsters. And
Mhm.
when you have a rookie out there, good luck.
Yep.
So I would say they're going to unleash him.
Yep.
I'm not going to discount the Joe Flacco part because he is a veteran and knows. Not that Jaden Daniels is his second year,
Mhm.
and obviously Detroit when they had it going was when Goff was able to find those little holes in the zone. So
Mhm.
Flacco might be able to do that. So you don't want to just like, oh, this is Joe Flacco. He's 49 years old and he's not
Mhm.
that old, but yeah, like you don't want to right because that there's a reason why he's been able to be in the league this long.
Mhm.
And if so, you get a little trepidation there is that like he might be able to dink and dunk his way. So,
Mhm.
but I mean, for the Packers on paper, it matches up very, very well for them.
Right. And you just kind of hope, I know, because after this game, there's going to be a ton. It's going to be nauseating, even though it's going to be Green Bay is going to be involved in it, but it's going to be nauseating talking about that week 4 matchup.
Yeah,
Dallas.
over and over.
Yeah.
It's I mean, talk about national pundits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stephen A. Smith is probably already like
He's gonna be wearing a
rehearsing.
cheese hat. I mean, it's like, okay, great, Green Bay and all that, but it's gonna be Micah back to Dallas and just back and forth. Even during the game, they're gonna have probably like graphics up comparing
Yeah.
what Micah's production is.
Who's his mom going to cheer for?
Right. I mean, it's how many camera shots are gonna be on Jerry Jones every time Micah Parsons makes a
Right.
play, to see the reaction and that. It's going to be unbearable, even though your teams are our teams involved in
It's
it.
going to be, I mean, about as big as the hyped up. We thought the Pittsburgh game
Mhm.
might be hyped up. This
Yeah.
is probably more hype now than
Oh, yeah.
that,
Yeah.
especially after the way Pittsburgh played
Yeah.
yesterday.
I mean, that one, if Pittsburgh gets it into gear and, like, they're a playoff team now, then that's probably gonna be really interesting. But, yeah, this one's gonna be when it involves Dallas and the whole Micah thing, it's gonna be yuck.
It's going to be a different mood for a lot of those people in that locker room, though, now, too. Because I
Mhm.
think the Packers' last couple of years have kind of been, after Rodgers was traded, under the radar a little bit, even though they had
Mhm.
some good seasons. But now I think you're basically in the national spotlight
Mhm.
every week because of Micah.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Totally agree. Alright, we gotta take our final break, then we'll do some picks. We got some baseball games and, a couple football games to pick as well. So, we'll be back in just a couple minutes to wrap it up. All right, let's get right to it. We only got a few minutes left, so let's hammer through some of these picks. Again, no Brewers game today. Off day for the Crew before they take on the Angels in Milwaukee. So let's start it off with a little baseball action here. Cubs, Pirates.
Cubs.
Yeah, I gotta go Cubs too. So
The Cubs need a sweep.
don't talk it into existence, though, man. Don't do it. Braves, Nationals. Strider is on the mound for the Braves, but again, he's just 5-13 on the season. So
Yeah, we'll give them that matchup. Doesn't sound fun, so I'll go the Braves.
I'll go Braves too. Blue Jays and Rays. Blue Jays now the top team in the American League.
Let's go. I'm gonna go Rays.
Ooh, I'm gonna go.
Just taking one.
I'm gonna go Blue Jays.
Okay. I felt like I had to go like the not favorite team.
Yeah. Baltimore and the White Sox.
Ooh, boy.
Yeah.
Where's that? Is that?
It's in Chicago.
Yeah, whatever new Comiskey is called now.
Great field.
Right, that's right. Let's go to the Birds. We'll go Baltimore.
I'll go Baltimore too. Yankees and Twins at Target Field.
I know it's been rough times for the Twins, but if you can take one against the Yankees, do it tonight.
I'm going to go Yankees. Okay. Reds, Cardinals, an interesting series here. Could Cardinals, if they take care of business, maybe move up just to a couple games away?
Remember how we used to call the Cardinals the cockroaches because they would find, like, you would think they're out of it, but they're back to being that team that you think are done.
Yep.
I'm going to go Cardinals. I feel like they're playing some pretty good baseball.
I'm going to go Cardinals too because it's in St. Louis on top of that. So Rangers, Astros. Astros not leading their division anymore.
It's a big matchup there for the Rangers. I'm going to go Rangers because, I mean, obviously interstate rivalry there. The Rangers are, after that, watching them against the Brewers, that looks like a fun team to you root for there.
I'm going to go Rangers for tonight's game too. So another really big one here. We've got the Giants and the Diamondbacks.
Oh, that is a...
Zach Gallen's on the mound for the Diamondbacks today.
In Arizona?
In Arizona.
I'll go D-backs just because I'm giving them the little home field advantage.
I'm going to go Diamondbacks as well. And then the big series, Phillies, Dodgers in LA. Suarez is going for the Phillies. Sheehan for the Dodgers.
I'll go Phillies tonight with this one.
I'm going to go Phillies too, and I don't like that. I don't like that.
That's a team that doesn't like the Brewers.
Yep.
And Suarez is the main reason, isn't that?
Yeah, right? No kidding. We got two Monday Night Football games. We've got first up, it's the Buccaneers versus the Texans.
And I believe this is the last year we'll have these double headers. I think next year they're done with the double headers. What was that one again? The Chargers and
well, Tampa Bay and Houston's the first one, then it's Chargers and Raiders for the second one.
Tampa Bay, Houston.
In Houston.
I'll go Tampa.
I'm gonna go Houston. Picking up their first win. And then Chargers and Raiders. Long break for the Chargers, too, because they had the Friday night game to open up the season.
I'll go Chargers. I'm not really sold on that Raiders team.
Yeah, I'm going to go Chargers, too. Although
it's going to be fun to see Pete Carroll, though.
Pete Carroll versus Harbaugh again.
Yeah.
I do appreciate Carroll saying, I remember Jim. I don't have any good memories beforehand. So
get the khakis out.
Yep.
Good time.
Yep. So, yeah, I'm going to go Chargers in this one as well, too. So, we only got a couple minutes left here. So, really quick, couple predictions. Do you think the Brewers will end up finishing in that top spot in the National League when it's all said and done?
I think they'll hold on, just maybe by the skin of their teeth, but I think they can hold on.
I'm going to say yes, they do, too. I'm going to go yes, too.
See, I'm optimistic about some things.
You are. I got them about 98 wins, 97, 98 wins.
I think that was 98 was what I went with, too.
Yep. So
I just don't think 100 is going to happen.
Got to go 9-3.
Yeah.
You got to sweep a couple series.
Yeah, it just doesn't. I mean, maybe they get hot. Maybe they do, but
yeah,
they've been playing a lot of one-run games here in the last month.
Yep, I would agree. So, less than a minute left. We got to say best luck to the kiddo running his first cross country.
Yes, I went. He needed to get a training run in over the weekend, so I went for a mile run with him. Oh my goodness, it's been a
Dad.
It's been a while. And I'm able to move today, so that's a good sign. But it's been a while since I went for a run. So,
well, you're a good dad to be doing that with him. So, holy moly, I don't think I could do that.
He was probably just like, "Why are you holding me up?" Pretty much what it was.
You can walk a mile on a golf course, no problem.
Oh, yeah, I about 6 miles on a golf course. There's no problem. But, yeah, run a mile is it's a lot of different things that get sore. I remember now.
Yeah, well, best of luck to him tonight.
Yeah,
so
let's go south.
There you go. I like it. All right. Have a good rest of your Monday. Bill Michael Show's up next. Same place, same time tomorrow morning. Talk to you then.